today with my team. In Nairobi, we have Miriam Ogutu. You are a co-host. Thank you. Good afternoon in Nairobi. We've delayed, but here we are. The subject will go on. And if you want to listen, you can also watch yourself on Punchline Africa Television. We are broadcasting this at the same time. I have picked one aspect, and before I do anything, I would like Miriam to do what we call house cleaning, and by telling us the news headlines in Kenya and across the continent of Africa. Most of you who are not in Africa, in the diaspora like me, I would like to hear the news headlines. Miriam, go away, take it away, if you are ready.
All right. Very good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where everyone is joining us from today. The Sunday Nation from Kenya, the main headline, 2 billion Kenya shillings packed for Ruto's allies, and state seeks Western travel ban for Raila, and then tight security for Jill Biden, who was visiting in Kenya. And then the Sunday Standard, in God's name, when 2 combatants keep invoking the name of God to win sympathy and score points, there is a bloodline between good intentions and the bad. The future of the church, that is increasingly taking sides in political battles, lies in the hands of the clergy, who have turned that hallowed ground into a theatre of a battle. The story is on page 7, and cheaper electricity remains a mirage. And mass action, is it a potent threat or a trick of a bygone era? You'll find that all inside the Sunday Standard. The Punch from Nigeria, killings, BVAS, ballot box snatching, polls, and then Sunday Vanguard, Tinubu, Atiku, Obi upbeat as violence, later arrival of materials mar the polls. Daily Trust is all from Nigeria. INEC begins collation today. Voters applaud security operatives conduct. Late start of poll, BVAS malfunction, violence recorded. And then candidates hopeful as Abdul Salamin Jonathan call for calm. That is what we have on the Daily Trust. The Daily News from Zimbabwe 2023 polls, ZANU-PF and CCC foster Zimbabwe peace. The Standard also from Zimbabwe, police protest ZANU-PF orders. Sunday Monitor from Uganda, clock ticking as Uganda stays on finance grade list. And Sunday Vision as well from Uganda, Iron Sheets saga, ministers summoned. That is what we have in some of the newspapers from across the continent of Africa. A very good afternoon to all of you from here in Nairobi.
Thank you very much, Miriam, for that housekeeping. Across in London, we don't have much. It is about the immigration or migration lawyers who have been eating a lot of money from bringing in illegal immigrants. So the government is cracking on them. The ghost of Euro, the ghost of Brexit is haunting. In one of the papers, I have crammed them in my head because they are on my equipment here. I can't read them, but Miriam, if you have the copy, you can see. The ghost of Brexit is tearing the Conservative Party in London. And members, the former Prime Minister and the current Prime Minister seem not to be seeing each other on one page. Therefore, we have called upon them to leave us to go and elect. We want an election quickly. We want it like tomorrow. Everything is ready. We shall vote out that Conservative Party and put it in a dustbin of history. It has not provided good leadership. It has not told us which direction. The cost of living here in Britain is so high. Every taxpayer, everybody is being pinched by so much that we have to pay the shops. You go to the shop with 200 pounds, 100 pounds, which you use to fill a full trolley. You can't have any food. Across Europe, everything is like that. But we want to clean where we live. And thank you very much, viewers across the continents. of the world. Thank you. That is the newspaper. Let's come back to the debate. And the debate here is, Miriam, unless you have something else that you want to add on what is very, Madam Jill Biden is about to fly out of Kenya, I believe. The inconveniences caused airport was closed. Today, the whole airport, one terminal is closed. Do guests in Africa who come to Africa come with good hope or come for more inconvenience? That will be anybody on the platform can host any of those. We shall be able to say our views. Ladies and gentlemen, as we speak right now, the Nigerian election is underway. Counting has started in most places. But one thing that caught my eye, because I've been following, and I've also been one of the few analysts. When you join, please put your microphone, Daniel. Daniel, can you put your microphone, please, and unmute your microphone? Thank you very much. One of the things that has caught my eye, Miriam, and my fellow spacers or space gurus, we have now become experts of space. I want to see Madge. I can see Madge is here, and the many of you here who have been listening to our discussion over the week. One of the things that has caught my eye is the digital election. Are digital elections in Africa designed to cause chaos and conflict to our countries? About 10 to 15 elections held in Africa so far since we introduced digital voting. All of them have ended up in a terrible mess, either canceling the voting in the middle, or going to court, or going to complain about the data media. It is sad, therefore, you will give us some background to it from Uganda, Zimbabwe, Ghana, Rwanda, Congo, Kenya, all countries that have conducted elections using digital platforms. Tanzania, using BVR, except South Africa. The BVRs, like the one in Nigeria, is called BVAS. They are calling it BVAS. It is different, well designed. You put your finger, takes your photograph, shows your card. Are this equipment, is the digital voting system appropriate for Africa? Let's be honest. Have we reached a stage where we can say we are comfortable with digital voting? You saw in Nigeria from 2:30 last night, they started pinning on the portal. They just brought it very early in the morning, about 4 a.m. London time is when I saw the first trickling results on the portal. We do very good elections. We conduct elections. We waste money. We borrow money. We put citizens into debt. But we kill the same election with silly mistakes, like posting the results on the portal, which could bring people on the streets. These are the reasons, why I picked up this topic. Because this topic can bring people on the streets. Why did you delay with posting the results? Why do you have access value? Ladies and gentlemen, there is something in Nigeria they have called a server, what is it called? Not external server. They are called access server. The access server from the BVR to access server. Then from the access server, the information is transmitted to collection center where the main portal is. So what is this access server? Where is it placed? These are the questions that I saw all the candidates coming up, everybody complaining, and many people in Nigeria still complaining. Some are still on the queue as we speak. Some people want to vote. They have not left. The determination of the Nigerian people this time to come and vote, I can see the improvement will go around 40% there. It could crack 40, but it will not crack 50. It will not pass 50. I don't think so. Because there are so many factors. You see policemen grabbing equipment during that, not policemen, civilians, bandits grabbing equipment that time when police is escorting. People coming to shoot at polling stations, don't know more of voting, burning the materials. One thing that took my heart down is the ink pad. Ink pad. How can you travel 200 miles, Miriam, and my rest of the space? You don't have ink pad. They didn't have the ink pad. They didn't have the stamp. They reach there, and the local people have to go to the bookshop, open up a bookshop to give them ink pad. It took hours, 5, 7. I was watching. And as I've told you, I was one of the analysts on one of the television stations. I was watching fully, observing each and everything that was taking place. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Buhari goes to vote. And Buhari himself makes a terrible mistake yesterday by displaying under the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You don't display your ballot. It is a private matter. You are voting privately. It is secret ballot. He contravened the laws. Him and the Attorney General and another person, 3 people in Nigeria, they contravened the law. And then they did the worst, which we have seen. They voted by displaying that I have voted. Such, I think, action will be taken. There is an uproar. But all in all, ladies and gentlemen, as we wait for the results, that will begin trickling in perhaps by tonight. For me, I have got my reservations on the winner, but I still have reservations about it could be a dead heat. There is a last thing that has caught my eye, that we in Africa, what is our problem? We do constitutions that are not ours. We copy constitutions. How do you say 2/3 of, you must win in 25% in 2/3 of the states? And then you must also win Abuja. You must have you must win. So even if you work hard, where? You must win Abuja. So now, Africa, what's our problem, surely? What is our problem? Do we copy some of these things wrongly? The Nigerian constitution, those who made the constitution, why did you make Abuja? It's not a state. It is just like a scoring point that even if you have won some places somewhere, you must also win Abuja. It's like a 50 million, 50 plus 1. If you don't have Abuja, the court have to decide who won. So, do we in Africa make constitutions when we are blind? We sit blindly. in these constitutions, what is our problem? These are some of the things that I want us to interrogate. And I would like my friends from Nigeria mostly to be able to interrogate these things themselves. They are the people who are affected. The platform here today, we shall be listening and controlling and balancing. We don't have much luxury of time that we shall be here, but we shall use the maximum time that we have right now, 1 hour and a half, to make sure that we finish, and all maximum to 4:30 we must be out of the studios. Thank you very much, Miriam. If you have any background, then I want Mr. Olu to kick after you have laid down the case.
All right, just a quick update on that election that happened in Nigeria. And across Nigeria, voters have complained of hitches in uploading polling results in INEC's database. With the introduction of the BVAS, bimodal voter accreditation system, counted results are expected to be uploaded at the polling center and to be tallied at a collation center, but network issues and equipment failures are militating against the success of the new process. INEC says its new system that identifies voters using biometric data would help avert a fraud. So this is a new system that Nigeria is using for its voting this year, and officials from the Independent National Electoral Commission have cited technical problems with the new biometric anti-fraud voter accreditation system, the late arrival of vehicles to transport them, and the absence of voter registers are causes of delays in voting. And yesterday, in a televised news briefing, INEC chairperson Mahmoud Yakubu said 6 biometric machines had been stolen in northern Katsina State and 2 were stolen in southern Delta State. So those are just some of the few challenges that we saw yesterday, and I think a couple of others, Doc, that you've mentioned there. The delays were a key thing in some of the areas, and also the issue of security. And I guess because I saw there's an attack that happened at a voting station where gunmen came and had shot in the air. I don't know if anybody was injured, and they disrupted that exercise. So I wondered, how prepared was even the government? Because they already know there is the issue of security. That is of concern in many parts of Nigeria. And why would the government not ensure that areas close to these polling stations, the people there were offered enough security and the exercise had enough security to ensure there's no kind of this interruptions? I think that really poked a hole in the sensitive underbelly of the preparedness of the Nigerian government as far as having these elections is concerned. And the issue that you just brought up of Buhari displaying a marked ballot, I think that contravenes, as you've stated there, that contravenes. You're supposed to mark the ballot. It's a secret, and then just vote and go about your way, not display a ballot that has already been marked. So I think that is a problem there. But a very short back on there. So perhaps the person that you had identified to come up can just go ahead and take on the mic.
Okay, thank you very much, Miriam. On a serious note, Hannah, I have given you the speaker. If you want to speak, I have already sent you a speaker. If you want to speak, Hannah, Nazi Oma. There is something very strange here, which I don't know. It is only Nigerians who will tell me. This calculation of 25% is similar almost to Kenya. You must have 21 constituencies, you must 25 counties before you are declared a winner. But the one in Nigeria is strange that they talk about after you have done all that, you must also win Abuja. What is this Abuja? What is in Abuja? Because I'm told it's a cosmopolitan area where everybody is. So they want to test. Why don't you do a proportional representation then? Why don't we do a direct proportional representation? Miriam, it is better that way. It could even serve more than going through these counties, calculations of this, that. Let me start with our brother, Olu. Olu, you have the mic. You can now speak and tell us more about what is happening.
Yeah, doctor. Good day, everyone. Wherever you're speaking from. Honestly, to be sincere, I feel so even embarrassed for me as a Nigerian. We say we want to have free and credible election, free and fair. But the thing is that we like copying the West. We like doing what others are doing. Even what we need to do is that we ourselves, we are here. We don't need what they are doing outside there. We don't need to copy. Based on ground, there was no preparation. This is something that the government are supposed to be preparing for over, let's say, 3 years or 4 years. And we are still having breaking down. We are having insecurity challenge. We are having the machine not working. The INEC themselves. I told her the INEC that they are doing the election. They're supposed to have even come and survey where they want to even where is the polling unit themselves. How will they be able? Okay, what are we going to mount? What is everything? There was no preparation. Late coming, and you have 1,000 of people want to vote with just one biometric machine. Haba. What are we in Africa? What are we in Nigeria? And they said this was supposed to speak for Africa. This election supposed to speak for Africa. If we say we are upgrading to a technology, there is nothing like technology here that I see. I would not like to use her. I would not like to you as an African. Because there are some people that are disfranchised. There are some politicians that they feel they don't have their stronghold. They will send hoodlums. They will send people to destroy ballot box, and the election will be cancelled. Then how can we be able to say this is a credible election? How can we be able to say this is a free and fair election for its citizen? Where they want us. Why is it that Africa always want us to suffer, to feel pain before anything? We don't have to feel pain for everything. Everything's supposed to come at a platter of gold. That is the benefit that you're supposed to benefit. But you will queue under the sun, under the rain. There are some people that they queue, they will come to the polling from morning till use the whole 24 hours the next day voting, and some will not still be able to exercise their franchise, their civil rights as a person, as a citizen of the nation. There is no need for them to, we will say we'll bring people when they are not famous, where people doesn't want them. It's the citizen. The power is supposed to be at the voter's hand. Boys, the way we are seeing things is not like it's at the voters' hand. Since INEC logistics are failing, Even distributing the materials is failing. In my community here, back in my community here, they sent a different local government ballot box to a polling unit. How will that happen? And we say we have been preparing for more than a year. This is a shame for me as a Nigerian. This is a shame for me as an African. We need to stand up. If we really want to have a good leader that will work for us, we need to rise up. We need to rise up. We need to speak. This platform is good for Africa to come. Let's unite. Let's unite. Let's come together. Let's start somewhere. You have to start from somewhere. But if you don't want to start, how do you want to get to the final destination? Please. There is nothing like secret ballot that we are doing. There is nothing like that. Nobody is supposed to see what I vote for. Is there a cubicle where the people who even around you, you seeing what other people are thumbprinting? And there is no there is no voters orientation. The only happiness that I'm having is that the young generation are rising. They should know, and they are seeing it now. The young generation are rising. They are coming. We need to speak to these people that we are standing up to them now. That is why myself, I come out, I voted. I exercise my franchise as a person. That I know. The election cannot be credible when we are having issue of insecurity and everything. They will say they deploy security to a so state, but you will not be able to see them. Even if the security are not, maybe some of them will be with the polling unit without a gun, but they are supposed to be a checkpoints. Why where are the people you say they deploy? Where are they? Where they were destroying ballot boxes, where were they? No intelligence. We say we have DSS, we have SSS, we have all this military and paramilitary. They are not supposed to be voting there. Where are they? Since they cannot even protect us on the day they will lock us down. We don't need an election. They will be locking a country, a nation down. We don't need it anymore in Africa. Are they doing it other clients? They are not doing it. If they say they want a credible election through technology, I supposed to vote in my house. I suppose can vote in my house, and voting process they're supposed to be a day. The INEC chairman just announced yesterday that some places will be having their election today. And even by now, as I'm talking to you, there is no result from a state that is complete to Abuja right now, because we are watching. They are starting to prepare. And we are saying this technology we are using. Why not the technology will send the result direct to the Abuja? The beavers, there is no network in the beavers. You yourself, maybe a voters have to use his own internet facility for the beaver machine to the beavers to upload. Even some of the INEC workers don't know how to do it. Then they say they have training, they have orientation, they have induction that they've done for them. No. Please, and please, we Africa should stand up. Let me yield the mic from now.
Thank you very much.
For other speaker to speak.
Thank you very much, Oluv. And we thank you very much for having been there as our witness. You voted yesterday, and the things that we are saying are not lies. They are happening. There is nothing on the portal. Today, as we speak, nothing has come on the portal. I can't. I waited up to 4 a.m. London time to see the portal, whether the results were coming in. Nothing. Where are they being cooked again from? Isn't this going to cause in conflict, chaos? 6 hours for 93.6 million people. 6 hours. I want the next speaker, the lady, Hannah, followed by Marge, followed by Paul. We want Nigerians today to tell the story. Is it, for me as a political scientist, I want to suggest Nigeria should stagger its election. Stagger it so that you have enough security. That policemen will be enough to guard particular election.
Now,
When you join us, please make sure that you switch off Audi. Stagger the election. 93.6 million people voting in 6 hours from 8:30 to 2:30. I saw a woman crying tears. She arrived there at 2:37, 2 minutes late, and she was told she was not going to vote. 6 hours to elect a president, to elect a senator, to elect a representative. Excuse me. Where did we go wrong as Africans? And two, the people who designed this digital, and I want to be this, I and Hannah, we have voted in the United Kingdom. I vote. I have voted since 1987. I have never voted using a machine. Viewers, I want to tell you frankly, all the voting in the United Kingdom is manual. Now you, a democracy of 65 years old only, Uganda, 62 years only, Kenya, 60, that you are bringing digital, you are bringing chaos to your home. If I'm wrong, let God cut my hands off. Time has come for us to take a stand. United Kingdom is 1,966 years of democracy, but they don't use a BVR machine. They don't even want to manufacture it in their factory. Why has Britain refused to have technology of thieving? Because British people are straightforward. They don't want to cheat. They don't want to steal. Why have we Africans just copied something from nowhere and it has become a norm here? Hala? It is moving like a fire. BVR. I'm buying BVR. I'm buying this. You are bringing chaos to your country. In Uganda, in 2021, these beavers, which Nigerians call beavers, they reached somewhere in the middle at around 10:30. All of them seized. They refused to work. The chairman of the Electoral Commission, I'm not going to talk about any other country except my country. Those who want to talk about their country, you go ahead. But Matanga will not mention certain country in Africa because I burnt my fingers there of talking the truth. It caused me a problem. So there you are. My country, Uganda, imported the same machines. The Electoral Commission reaching 10:30 a.m. East African time, every machine was not even accepting people. The electoral chairman, Miriam, and others came to the platform, to the television, and said all voting BVRs are suspended. No more voting with the machines. Let's go manual. Have you seen this? Then why didn't we go manual before you cancel? These beavers are used to con people money. The people make money out of this guy. And the worst part of it is, if you want to find out what is wrong with this BVR, the owner who manufactures says it can only take 6 months to get clearance to open. Allah, 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 Allah. What's going on in this Africa? Are we bewitched? Why did we take on digital platform, which brings us war at our doorsteps? Hannah, take the mic. Nazi Oma, the mic is waiting for you. If you are still very far from the microphone, Marge.
Good evening, Dr. Matanga. Good afternoon, actually, it's not yet evening. Good evening, co-host, and good evening, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Yes, the subject of today is something that I have lived experience with. Are digital elections in Africa designed to cause chaos and conflict? What I would say is that it is not designed to cause chaos and conflict. It's only that we need to get used to it, and we are not yet used to it. I'll start by saying that Germany votes manually. They don't use the digital voting. They vote manually. So their reasons for doing this is that it's the traditional ways of doing it, and their system is really very organized. So when we vote here, before voting, you even get letters. They're reminding you to go and vote. You don't have politicians coming to your, area trying to convince you to vote. So mostly you have to just use your brain to decide the politician or the party you want to vote for. Then you get your letter reminding you that you need to vote, and you know the voting center and the time. Yeah. So that is a different system that I wouldn't dare compare, for example, to Kenya. Now, why do I say that BVR is, at least the digital part of it, is a good thing? If I could give example, as most of you know, I was actively involved in the campaigns, the previous campaigns, actually officially nominated as a diaspora campaigner. And we had an issue in Qatar, so the BVR stopped functioning all of a sudden, and people were really protesting. And this is Qatar, and they were at the embassy. So you could imagine if they started rioting in a very Arab country, that's a mess. So the good thing is that the representative you had on the ground thought very quickly to call me, and then he called like, Marge, the BVR machine is not working. I'm like, okay, excuse me, but what's going on in the background? Like, people are rioting because people are being told to go back home because the machine is not working. So they thought somebody wanted to cheat them out, to cheat them so that they don't get to vote. Now, by good luck, I would say even the returning officer was very courageous, because I also talked to him. And wanting to know what's going on, he explained this. And, at least the story was, adding up what the representative was talking about and what the returning officer was talking about. Now, what I did was to contact Nairobi and escalate this. And they really also directly went to the chair of the Electoral Commission and said, this is the machine is not working in Qatar. And I have to give them credit that within 30 minutes, because I called back to calm down and said, guys, I've talked to this person, they've escalated this, and I have a text showing that they're working on it. So at least by that, I gave reassurance to the representative, and I talked to the returning officer again and said, look, this thing is being rectified. I've confirmed from Nairobi. And he was also just confirming. He said, yes, we've been told to stop, to hold a meeting, and then we proceed. We stop so that it can calm down and proceed. So yes, that shows that people, when they perceive things not to be working, they can try to cause chaos. But the system itself is not designed to cause chaos. It's just how we really perceive it. That's the one point. So I found it good that at least imagine if they were doing everything manually and things were going wrong, how could anybody would have known? Now, the second reason why I find the digital voting also not a bad idea is that I managed from Germany to coordinate and send all the forms to Nairobi, the Form 34As. So that means that even the forms that were being uploaded on the portal, Dr. Matsanga, I could see. And if they uploaded the wrong one, I'll be like, okay, there you are, because I really presented all these forms to the people who were responsible. And there's an issue. There was an error, for example, in Saudi Arabia. They had 5 cancelled votes, but they lumped them up together. And when we were figuring out, we said, okay, there's a mistake, so we need to tell them. But in the very main tallying center, they hadn't seen it already, so it was appearing with 5 votes more, and so the transparency of me sitting in Germany, but knowing how LA has voted, knowing how Berlin has voted, knowing how UK had voted, that I find something positive. That transparency. Of course, we are a young democracy, and we just need to really try it out more. And what I would say, for example, needs to be done that wasn't done, because we are also learning, the BVR machine, when you use it, the final results, okay, the process has to be defined, and it was defined. What was missing here, some people did not do, is that they didn't take a photo, and you need to take a photo of the final results, because it's going to show. But people sometimes, and this is our culture, in most African countries, they don't do things diligently. So these are the people who are going to scream very loudly, but they didn't take the photo of this machine. So when things are not adding up, they go like, oh, they stole the election, they did that. But no, they don't. Like, it's the same thing. I had the speaker from Nigeria talking about people not being at the polling station. So if we have agents that are trained, when they're not at the polling station, what do they expect? But if they're at the polling station, for example, here we had to also, volunteers had to actively do something. We had to ensure that we had volunteers in the Berlin polling station. We even financed them to be there. They had to be there. And by the time these people were, counting the last votes, they took up. I got the results here before they reached Kenya. So that, when I look at that from my experience, I think that really the digital voting is not as as bad as some people would want to portray it. But nevertheless, I have to say that we still need to practice more, to give it time to ripen, because we're talking about network issues. Even in Kenya, there were apps that were supposed to be used. These ones were suddenly not working, So yes, there are challenges there. And there are many things that were also not. But if you consider the alternative, whereby somebody's in the bush, and I don't know, the ballot box appearing from nowhere or from somewhere. So it's a collective effort, because otherwise we are saying, imagine a scenario whereby you sitting, Dr. Matsanga, you're sitting in London and somebody is voting in Moscow. Yeah? And you need to just believe everything, at least you have the transparency, if because even legally, the parties were allowed to each bring an observer and an election agent. So you still have people controlling and checking this. And then in that case, it's the hard work that's missing sometimes from our people, whereby some of them, for example, they boycott because they say, well, we were not given money. But on the overall, what I think also needs to be done is the training of how to use these things, and Also, the training on the sensitivity of how long that process takes, because when people start shouting, and Nigeria has a lot of people when they go voting, and so it's going to take a lot of time. And when they're saying, and I had that, maybe I had it wrong, when they're saying that some people are...
Marge.
Yes, please.
Marge.
Yeah.
Marge, my sister, hold the microphone there. Don't hold it there. Now, Marge, you and I you live in Germany, I live in the United Kingdom. There's no factory in Germany that makes BVR machines. Neither there is a factory, neither there is a factory in Britain that makes BVR machines. The Germans and the British are traditional. They follow tradition. If in Germany, where there's social contract, which you and I know, if you don't have a job, they will give you money to go and get a job. They pay you to go and look for a job. In Africa, nothing is there. Nobody knows who has not got a job, who hasn't, who got a degree. Nobody wants to hear you. People with master's degrees are houseboys. Yes, a person has a master's degree and is working as a houseboy, earning 30 to 40,000 shillings. It's happening in some parts of Africa. Now, when you talk of it is good, why is it that in Germany where you are, it is not used? Why? Because they don't want it at all. It creates confusion. Britain, where we are, our votes are counted manually. In fact, we even have postal vote. The machines that check on credibility of whether the postal vote you have sent is the real one that came are kept behind there. They don't show you. They don't show you. You can't go and cut your own postal vote apart from that one which your county, your council, your electoral body at the council has sent you. If you are not going to be present in Britain, you write and say, I have voted Labour Party, and post it in the post office. There are machines to check whether the vote that came from the post office is the real one that the council gave, because they have serial code or codes which can tell them that that is a fake paper. Something that you can't do in Africa. They will fake all the documents and they will be posted to you. Now, if Britain that told us to have elections every 5 years, it is Britain that told us, the European Union coming to say, you must have voter BVR. In Nigeria, they are called them beavers. The name there is beavers. Beavers, where's beavers? I heard them say, well, the beavers has refused to work. Now, if those countries run away from this, today you are telling me, at the end of the day, the question, read my question very carefully. Are digital elections in Africa designed to cause chaos and a conflict at the end of it? In all countries, including your own country now, Marge, and don't hide there that there is no pull and a push about this digital equipment. If you don't tell the people here that there is a pull and a push, then it would be very suicide. Because you are saying they are good. How good are they? Then if they are good, why are we here? Nigerians were saying, yes, it is quick to identify people. But at the end of the day, some of the machines did not work. So that is the thing I needed you to clarify. Then we move on to there are other people here from Nigeria who took part in the election, who can tell you that up to now, there is no portal. Even to Nigeria, I have a portal where I am in London. I've looked at the portal. There is not even a single vote posted there. So where are they? Where are these results in the BVR kept now? Doesn't it cause tension, anxiety, suspicion? When will they be posted? The deadline ended yesterday. That is all. Just clarify that, then we move on to the next speaker.
Thank you, Dr. Matanga. I would really like to clarify that. And I would like to begin by saying exactly what I said. We cannot compare, I cannot compare Germany to Kenya. No? And so in Germany, for example, even though we use the manual voting, there's something they use that's called Hochrechnung. That's like, by 6, when we vote today, by 6 in the evening, they have a statistical analysis of who's going to win. Yeah. But so even them, even though they vote manually, they go and start using machines later. And you find that the trend is really never that far from, which party is leading, So, but nevertheless, what we need to do, because when we're looking at the setup that you're talking about, so talking about Kenya, you are aware, Dr. Matanga, that they are a returning officer who was killed. So we want to go back to the manual. We want to do the manual way. But we realize that the reality is that there's somebody who's going to be carrying these results to the main tallying station, and they're going to be killed. So instead of having people killed for things that can be done digitally, but that just need to be verified, could you kindly mute the mic? Somebody was there's some echo. Yeah. So instead of having people dying, because this guy died, I'm going to check their name and post here. There are ways that we can do it digitally. Of course, we don't need to do everything digitally, but it's a simple thing. And the sickness we have in most parts of the country or of the continent is the laziness and not doing things correctly. Because when you're asking, for example, why are these results not posted? We have the same problem in Kenya, yeah, whereby initially they started posting the results, but at some point also they stopped, and the TVs are not showing. So people need to grow into a system. So we started a new system. We need to just grow into it. And then, of course, after some years, we might say, okay, this is not working. But we cannot, and I read the title of the topic, Are Digital Elections in Africa Designed to Cause Chaos and Conflicts? So the other question would be, who should I insinuate that designed this? So that is, I think that is not what we are discussing here. What we're discussing here, and what I'm trying to share, is my experience as somebody who was a nominated campaigner, and what I experienced with these digital, with the BVR machines, like I said, the example in Qatar, whereby it failed. But by the end of the day, the Qatar people have to also congratulate the returning officer there. That was solved, and the person on the ground also called me, and we checked that out, and we solved it. Yeah, and also as somebody who's independent, when I'm sitting here, Dr. Matanga, I have to really say, being able to relay all the results of 13 countries that voted for Kenya outside Kenya, to relay them directly to Nairobi, is something we cannot do when we're doing everything without. When you're doing it the manual way. So what happens, and this is now my subjective assumption to it, when I want to now compare Germany to Kenya, it's about the pyramid of Maslow. Where are the needs? Where are the people with their needs? Where do they find themselves at the pyramid of Maslow? So you find that in Kenya, you still find people who believe that election is going to change their life. If this candidate wins, I'm going to get money. Or I'm going to get, and this is not the case in the Western world, and they've passed this stage. So when we're trying to compare them, and this is why we find there's a lot of emotions still attached to our elections back home, because they are effectively now still the citizens. A lot of the citizens, unfortunately, believe that one election term can change their lives. That's the problem, But here, for example, why is it that people never campaign? I go to the campaign, but not as intensively. I go to vote without coming into contact with any political party, you know. So really, I think given our structure and given that I saw nobody being killed in Germany because of elections, Dr. Matsanga, the returning officer died, and when he died, the tragic thing is that people continuing, fighting over, elections, what is missing, what is not missing, and of course, these machines are not manufactured in other countries, and they're not used there. It's because they're not needed there. So of course, this world is a capitalistic world.
You are saying, Maggie,
yeah.
in short, you say whatever is not needed across there should be dumped on us without querying. Anyway, you have your view.
No. We need to query.
Nigerians themselves. They are here.
Yeah, just one moment, Dr. Matsanga. We need to query, but we shouldn't insinuate things we don't have evidence for. You know, that is what I'm saying. And my lived experience, and I'm not saying this is 100% good, but I need to share also the good things that I saw with the digital voting or the BVRs. Of course, somebody else is going to come in and show the bad things that they saw, and then we look for the way forward, because really the voting system here and there, it's like comparing an apple and an orange. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much. Any student of comparative politics will understand that for a subject to be very sweet, you must compare areas and must bring case studies. I have been in my opening speech, brought a case study, several case studies in Africa, in Uganda, in Zimbabwe, in Ghana, in Kenya, in Ethiopia. Those are all cases of BVR, where beavers, the equipment, the votes, the digital systems have been introduced, and the rest of most of the French colonies in Tunisia, Algeria, we saw the same problem. So the problem here is, I'm doing a comparative. Why is it that countries that have tried to do digital, all of them, people end up in court, people end up in streets? We have people in the streets, or who like the Nigerian one, we don't know how it is going to come. But the way it is pointing from the four main candidates who are speaking on TV, you can see there is a long journey about these digital machines. Some places, the digital machines did not work. Some places, the digital machines were stolen. Up to now, the portal has not upgraded in Abuja. I am in contact with the observer mission of Uhuru Kenyatta and Thabo Mbeki. I'm talking to them. They haven't seen any digital. I want to tell you frankly, they have not seen any, from last night, anything being put on the portal. And all observers are saying, what is going on here? So what is going on there is, why do you have a beavers? Then you have before the vote goes to the portal or to the collation center, it passes to, there is somebody in Nigeria, they are calling it in for Kenyan people who are here. It is now it is gone. But what is happening in Nigeria is very interesting. That something is being done, waiting. It looks like there is a center holding all this data. Then it will release the data at the time they want, which is causing a lot of tension. By tomorrow, if these results don't start coming in, we have a problem. Wesonga, before I come to you, let me bring in our brother, is it Maxwell, and then Paul, then Odi, then from Slink Media. Tell us exactly, you people who are on the ground, what is going on. These are not the only factors that are making it very difficult. There is also the factor of Abuja. I would like someone in Nigeria to explain why Abuja becomes the final deciding factor before a presidential candidate is got. Max.
Thank you, Dr. and co-host Togutu. Doctor, what I want to say is, as the topic goes, are digital election in Africa designed to cause chaos and conflict? To me, as an IT specialist, I value technology too much. Technology is very much important. But the problem with us as Africa is that the way we handle technology, we haven't accepted that technology can bring change. I want to somehow support what our sister Magda had said, that there is no problem with the technology by itself. The people using the technology are the ones who are having the problem with technology. Because like in Kenya, we said like what happened in Kenya in the past election was that the election was done peacefully. People voted. The results were being transmitted, but the result which were some of the results which were being transmitted was not voted for. You find that the forms which are being uploaded on the portal are different from the ones which were in the constituency level. So technology by itself is good, but how we handle that technology is the problem. The using of technology, like what is going on in Nigeria at the moment. What was talking about the access server. I wish my good friend George Joroge could be here. He could have explained it more clear. That
yes, that one access server.
Yes.
That is the one everybody in Nigeria is using as an excuse that they have gone to the access server to do what there?
Dr. Matsanga, just one moment. Just Maxwell, you're talking about the back room. No, that back room, the IBC back room. They had it. Yeah.
Marge, no. Yeah. The Nigeria one, they are saying they have an access server.
They have an access. Okay. They are talking about access server to be specific.
Okay, and that's not the same as the back door, the back room that the IBC had only people serving.
No, that is different.
Okay,
that is different.
Okay, thanks. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. So that is what I was saying, access server. So when these are Nigerians people are talking about access server, it means that there is something called manipulation of data going on somewhere. So when the result will start streaming in, you will realize that it is quite different with what people, let's say, for example, in a certain station, maybe 100 people voted in that station. 100, on those 100 people, 20 voted for person A, another 10 for person B. But now the total transmission of the result after manipulation of the data will exceed 100 votes. So that is what is going on with that so-called access server. Access server is not required here, but now people are using money, the politicians are using money to favor themselves. But technology itself, to me, is not bad. We should embrace technology and use it accordingly the way it should be used. You understand that? So let's to me is wait and see, and I'm following very keenly on what is going on in Nigeria actually. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Max, you have brought it closer to it. That is something that pained me the whole night. When the chairperson of the Electoral Commission says the results from the beavers are going to access server. What? To do what in the access server? That is what is paining me as a person observing from
I
far.
don't
And
know.
I've even asked my friends Mbeki and Uru, what is this access server which you have access to? Do you have access to it? Then from the access server, you take the thing to back room. Then from up, then the portal. Up to now, they are just talking, talk shop. There is no result on the portal. We are building tension. Tension is building in all places. People who voted last night are not, they haven't seen the results. So let me bring in Mike. That is where the problem is. It's not that the technology is very bad. No, we want it. But the people, and Max has made a point here, the people who design the implementation, the people who go and finish Musando, I think that's the one you are talking about, Mr. Madam Umaji, isn't it?
No, I'm talking. Musando was the other one, the one who died because of other reasons. That was never clarified. That was before the elections, even because people.
Okay.
But then I've retrieved the link. I'm going to post it in the comment section. That was a returning officer who died under mysterious circumstances when he was going to deliver the results, to the tallying session. I'm going to drop them in the comment section. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, these are some of the queries. If the manufacturers cannot access you the server, what do? They tell you it will take 6 months to access it. Nigerians are asking, tomorrow, as Max says, somebody arrives. Max, you can mute your machine, your phone, please. Somebody arrives there with a different, in this access server. This access server, we have done a very fantastic election, surely. What is this access server coming in here? Okay, Mr. Is it Paul?
Paul. Yeah, Dr. Matanga, good morning from my end. Our protocol observed. Mask, I really appreciate your explanation. In fact, we knew this thing will happen. That's why we say in a Biafra land, no election. The problem here, the machine is very good. There is nothing wrong with the technology. All of us know that. But you cannot compare other countries with Nigeria. Before you solve a problem, you need to know the root cause of that problem before you can figure out a solution or how to handle that problem. Okay? Nigerian own has a fundamental problem. The foundation is faulty. Okay? If you do election 100 times, you will still get the same result. That's why we are calling for Biafran exit, to make sure we exit from Nigeria. Regardless of what you do in Nigeria, this thing you see now, in fact, Mas, I really appreciate the way you explained the whole thing. It's just to open up the eyes of the people that are here, the people who doesn't know what is going on in Nigeria, to know exactly what we've been crying for. There is nothing like election in Nigeria. That's the ceremony that was done there. Okay? Now, the election, they have rigged the election already. They just did the ceremony to deceive the world. That's what we've been talking about, for people to hear our cry and the way people are being killed. There is no place in the Western world in any election that you will see people die. It's only in Nigeria. They killed, and killed. So that's the problem that is there. So regardless of what you do in Nigeria, you will still get the same result. So the reason why this thing is going on, they have seen what is going to happen. They have seen who won the election. Now they use another process to be able to truncate the mandate of the people. That's what we've been saying, Dr. Matanga. We said this in all over again in your program that Nigeria doesn't conduct election. They do selection. They handpick you. They do all the shenanigans. I give Imo State as a case study. Somebody that came in fourth. Okay, they manipulated the whole thing. Supreme Court gave him the governor of Imo State. The same thing repeated in Osun State. You see the same beavers they are using, but they still manipulated the whole thing. So that's the point. Nothing like network and the beavers or whatever they call it. And the one thing you have to understand, these beavers, they remove a lot of things from these beavers. Okay, so that it will not transmit. So that's INEC is responsible for all this nonsense. Okay, the election is not credible. Let's not validate this election. Nothing to validate about. They just did the ceremony. They did. Then we're waiting for who they will select to rule Nigeria. That's why we are calling all of you to help us exit Nigeria, because Nigeria is a crime scene. The more you leave it lingering, the more people will keep on dying. There are three nations that makes up Nigeria: Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba. Let people go on their the same way British government lump us together to become a Nigerian. Let's go on our different ways and decide how to govern ourselves. That's the only way out, so that people will stop dying. Regardless of how you try to paint the whole thing, the same thing will still be happening in Nigeria. We have lost a lot of people. We are pleading for you guys that are Africans to help us right to live, so that we can live as a human being. We are being killed, maimed, raped, butchered into pieces. That's what we are talking about. I will raise my case here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and for good comments. It is the problem is we are not saying the machines should not work on the African continent. No. What we are simply saying, have we reached a level of surely trusting everything in this technology? Isn't it going to cause more conflict than tranquility on the continent of Africa? 12 countries in Africa for the last 5 years to 7 years have been trying digital elections. Out of these 12, only South Africa succeeded. The rest did not succeed or came out wounded. Believe me or not, by tomorrow, the Nigerian election, by the time they announce, I think if someone has already got the documents for filing, how much money do we waste? How much time do we waste? Whereas the countries that designed this type of democracy, the Westminster democracy, namely Britain, where we are here, where I am, they designed the Westminster democracy. They don't use these machines. They don't touch them. And you cannot come and justify to me that you who doesn't have even medicine in a clinic, you are spending money to cause more chaos on a machine that is going to create chaos instead of looking for that money. In fact, the money used for BVR should be put in clinics. Even if it takes us 10 days counting the votes, even if I win a hurry, yet we have timelines that you don't swear the president on the same day. I'm asking, are we in a hurry? Nigerian president will take over. From now, Buhari will be there for some time. The constitution is very clear. Why don't we take time counting the votes, even if it is manually? India takes 3 months doing an election. Manual, counting the vote. They don't rely much on The computers, they have more money than we have. We Africans, we have brought something just to confuse ourselves. Let's agree that this system, with people coming, placing themselves in the middle as hackers, saying we are a hacker. I am a hacker, I have hacked 20 elections in Africa. Surely Mike and the rest of you can tell me we are safe? Surely someone comes and says openly that I have hacked elections in Africa. And he tells you he has done it. Let me ask you another question. If United States itself, where democracy has grown for 256 years, they ended up the same way we are talking about because of this digital that Trump now demanded that let's go to the post office. Haven't you? Is there anybody who knows about America? American politics. When it reaches to go to the post office to bring the post office vote, the governor summoned to bring the post office vote, it means the machines have collapsed. Nobody accepts what the beavers did. So, ladies and gentlemen, when discussing this matter, let's take it seriously that Africa should not just copy, but let's sit down. Let's look at the cost of these machines. If they cannot, for the case of Uganda, my country, by 10:30 in 2021, the chairman of the Electoral Commission stopped all voting and cancelled the machines, told the returning officer to go to the manual. Let the person come, identify his name, give him the ballot to go and vote. The machines collapsed. Don't tell me Uganda has no power. Uganda, almost every village, like Kenya, there is power in every village. Internet has gone to almost every part of Uganda. We don't have network problems. But they had to stop. So, who is this telling us first? Research. They first told us hold elections every 5 years. Is there a law that says you should hold elections every 5 years? No. They told us hold elections every 4 years. For Nigeria, 4 years. I think Zimbabwe also 4 years. What? Who is this? Who is this who tells us to hold election every 5 years? To waste 42 billion, 60 billion, which is $6 billion. And then now we don't see even on the portal one number indicating Lagos State, Mr. Obi, or Mr. Atiku, or Mr. Tinubu, or Mr. Kwankwasa has won. No, it's not there. Show me. Anybody who has it here, print it here. So is that not a waste of time? Let's get the next speaker. Sean Wesonga. Sean, make it quick. I can see also my brother.
Yes.
Simba, don't run away. Your next election, your election is also going to be digital.
Thank you so much, Dr. Masanga, David, and thank you for always bringing up these emerging topics in Africa, and more so at a time when a big country like Nigeria, a country of 200 million people, is having an election. And of course, signs are already pointing to the fact of our substance as African people when it comes to our elections, that our elections are far from being credible, free, fair, and verifiable. You know, most speakers have talked, but as someone who comes from the community of IT experts, I will say good technology is actually equally good for the African leadership in the way that we do our elections. But remember, this technology is run by human personnel. And human personnel have the capability of making a good technology not work for the people, maybe go rogue. And that is, it comes where they have to input the data into this technology so that they are able to get results. And when you're at the basic level of learning computer, we have something we call GIGO, you know, garbage in, garbage out. So it means if erroneous data is entered into the system, then it is the erroneous results that will be gotten out. And therefore, right now, owing to the fact that the Electoral Commission of Nigeria has not uploaded any data into the servers or into the system, it really begs the question, what is happening in the background? And remember, this is the same thing that has happening in most countries that are using the same technology, where some few individuals sit in the back room and are able to work on data to manipulate it in favor of certain candidates. Really, it beats logic that we can go for the most expensive technology, whereas we cannot have the goodwill or the integrity to be able to make sure that this technology serves its intended purpose. Dr. Masanga, you've mentioned India, and today, if you search about the biggest IT companies in the world, you will not miss to get an Indian who sits at the top hierarchy of this IT company. Indians are by far the best when it comes to IT, other than the Russians. And when you see Indians not going with the technology in their elections, then they believe that we have vulnerabilities that come with this technology. And if people who have been entrusted with handling this technology do not actually act with integrity and goodwill, then it is actually subject to abuse. And that is what happens. Today in Africa, you don't need to actually spend most of your monies in campaigns, like you've said, Dr. Masanga. You just need to get to move around the world and get the best hackers so that when elections are done, these hackers will be able to hack you into power. That is how much we are actually misusing this technology. And if I were to be asked which is the best way for the African people when it comes to elections, then I would suggest that let every individual be given a way of actually casting their ballots and taking that ballot all the way to the main national tallying center so that it is counted. Otherwise, once you cast the ballot and you entrust it with other people who have ulterior motives, your ballot ends up not counting. And therefore, that shows you how far as Africans we are from being able to envisage the ideals of technology together with the democracy. We are really, really far away from achieving that, Dr. Masanga. And therefore, to me, I think voting in Africa has become a first. Democracies are fast, and even the technology that we tend to employ during every election year, I tend to believe it has become a cash cow for a few people in the political class or to reap big from the contracts, whereas this technology does not serve its intended purpose. I yield the mic, Dr. Masanga.
Thank you very much, Sean Wesonga, for being straightforward to the point. And that is it. You are an expert yourself of IT. And the words you have used, some of them I have never heard about them. I am not an IT expert, but I'm a man who looks at all things from angle. I will be bringing such topics because these are the problems that kill Africa. I am not going to go for topics that are simple. I come with very difficult ones like this one. Simba from Zimbabwe has asked, why do you transmit the vote to where? Why do you transmit it? I think we shall look at that. Simba, I'm about to give you the chance, but let me bring Mr. Famous Link from Nigeria. Famous Link Media. Thank you very much, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Masanga.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I've reached afternoon also now.
Okay. I acknowledge every speaker here, and I just want to use this medium to give a little light on the current issue. A digital election Africa designed to cause chaos and conflict. I just want to establish my concept by saying Nigeria election started since 1923, according to research. A series of elections has been conducted in Nigeria from 1923 to date, with fact there is no credible election. And other discrediting and incredibility of Nigeria have caused shows. My question is, does Nigeria have credible election? Is Nigeria election credible? Does Nigeria practice a democratic state? Is Nigeria a democratic state? Does Nigeria value human rights? No. That is the simple answer to those questions. Because when you look at it, I don't think all this is happening right now as an act of, I didn't think it as an act of technology, this, technology, that, technology. No. What my concept here is this. All these things is a mechanism. It's not just an unprofessional act, but it's a mechanism by which they want to use to manipulate the election. In Nigeria, there are elites. There are technology gurus. There are people who knows how to handle this. And when you come in terms of technology, they are gurus. They are smart, even than the white. But this is an act, a mechanism by which they want to use to manipulate the election, a mechanism by which they want to use to ring the election. I just want to be pure here. I just want to go straight to the point, and I just want to bring the word clearly. Every one of us has spoken, and we are trying to bring something on the table. We don't want to be vocal, bringing everything, bust it. But I want to let the world know, and Africa elect here, that this is a mechanism by which they are trying to bring the person of their choice. In Nigeria, there is nothing like election. Nigeria has not experienced anything like election since 1923. They started it. Everything is selection. It was after the election, this thing happened in 1964 as well, which brought coup of Nnamdi Azikiwe. Now, this is the reason why Biafra people could not validate the current election. This is the reason why Biafra people, they insist, because you cannot be busy validating a state, a nation, a community, or a place where you will be humiliated, deny your fundamental human rights. You'll be killed, you'll be denied the right to live, the right for freedom of speech, the right for education, the right for everything. As in Nigeria today was known, according to them, they say it was Giant of Africa. But today, I must assure you that that name, Giant of Africa, is no longer existing, because we don't have a democratic system. Nigeria does not practice a democratic system. Nigeria practices autocratic system, a state by which a particular government will come and impose power, decide what they will do, and take it out without you trying to hear from the people. So this is not all about technology. This is not all about somebody cannot handle system, behavior, or all that kind they call it. No, this is a mechanism by which they want to use to manipulate the result, to make sure that they put the person of their will.
Famous link. Hold the fire there. Let me ask you one question.
Okay.
There is something that I want to know. This 25% of 2/3 of the states under Section 34 of your constitution goes to say you can get that, but Abuja, please, one of you from either Olu, Paul, and many of you Nigerians who are the Biafrans who are on this platform, What is this Abuja? What is this Abuja? Is this also not part of the manipulation that after you have done very well everywhere, you need to have 25% of the 36 states? Then, when you have got that, you must produce Abuja. What is this Abuja?
Are you should I proceed?
Yes, continue from there, please.
Okay. You know, this Abuja, they call it a capital territory, FCT, Federal Capital Territory. And all this whole thing started because Lagos State was the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria. But since they know the corruption of Nigeria started by trying to remove the capital territory to Abuja. So they know everything that at the end of the day, at the end of all the whole thing, because this is where people who believe that they are the owner of Nigeria, they are born to rule, and they are there to decide. This is where they are. So as they are, they believe that over there is the territory and they can control it and they can be able to manipulate everything. So that's why whenever it comes in terms of Abuja, everybody will be like, this is northern part of Nigeria. So Dr. Masanga, I don't really have much thing to say here. The last word I have to throw here is this. Please, the issue of Nigeria election is not working. There is nothing like election in Nigeria. I appeal, I solicit with total humility. I solicit that the AU, African Union, should help Biafran to exit Nigeria in peace. Because as I talk to you, this is going to cause a coup. The current election, mark what I'm saying, bring it down in a paper now. Watch. From now to 2 to 3 days to come, you see the result of everything happening. But in a few days or week, 2 weeks thereabout, you get to see the result of everything that is happening in Nigeria. The current election is going to cause a very big problem in Nigeria. Who is bringing it to the world? When we are shouting, nobody hears us. When we are crying, nobody hears us. When they kill us, when they butcher us, when they genocide us, when they burn our house, destroy everything, nobody hears us. Every year by year, the same topic will be repeated. Every year by year, the same thing will be said. Biafrans, they refuse to validate the current impunity happening in Nigeria because the Nigeria state election is not working. Election, there is nothing like democratic practice in Nigeria, nothing like a democratic process in Nigeria. So the technology issue is not just the main thing because these people, they know everything. They know they can handle this technology. Even more than these people, we think that they are the creator. They can handle it. There are elite. There are professionals. There are people who know how to do those things. But this is a mechanism by which they want to manipulate the election and repeat the result of 1964. At this point, I rest my case, sir. Please help Biafran. Thank you, and God bless you.
Oh my God! You know, famous link. You have hit the point which I told Marge. Marge, you were not here when I was telling people. Sometime on another platform, the same on Nigeria. That as a member of Chatham House, I am a life member of Chatham House and the International Institute of Strategic Studies in London. I've had something which has worried me. And today, Mr. Famous Link seemed to have touched it. That the type of things that are happening might lead us to a conflict. That's why you saw me bringing this to say, let's discuss access server. What does it do? What is it doing? Abuja +1. It is, instead of saying 50 +1, Nigerians have gone to say 36 +1. You must win 25 50% of total vote in its percentage in 36 states. Then you must add 1 plus 1. In Kenya, you say 50 plus 1. Then the winner emerges. But there is something that Famous has said that worries me. I want to say it here. I wish the people of Nigeria very, very, I don't know what I can say, but let me leave it that way. When you come back to reply, you people, because we have very little time left, about 45 minutes to finish, then we can go. Let's bring in Simba from Simba. Then we come to, after Simba, I see Ambassador Okero from Uganda. You tell us your experience from Uganda. Simba, you tell us your experience of what is going on in Zimbabwe. Then I will come to Maja, I will come back to you. Then there is Mr. No, not Ambassador Okero. There is Mr. Panda. Panda, my great friend, could name Pandare from Zimbabwe. You'll speak after Simba, then Ambassador Okero, you speak. You now crown it, then I come back for replies. Because up to now, I've not seen any. I'm watching on my other screen, bigger screen, which I created here. I've even computed the expected results percentage. I will tell them to you at the end. And I think those are the ones that they have, which will come out. I want to listen to Simba from Zimbabwe. Thank you.
Right, thanks, Dr. Masanga. I'm hoping that where I am, it's not making noise. Please confirm if my volume is okay. Can you please confirm if my volume is okay?
It is okay, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I'd been waiting, but anyway, I will make a quick contribution here from my desk, from the news desk. What we see in Southern Africa and what we are also seeing today in Nigeria, which I do not see to be any different. But the only difference is that the manner in which other regions are dealing with the problem here. So I asked a question right at the beginning. Why are results being transmitted, and to where, and for what purpose? Why should there be digital intervention when basic reporting can be done at the source? These are numbers that can be easily tabulated. You don't even need the tabulation. You just add up 1 + 2 up right to the end. And the reporting is done at the polling station. Peter Obi, or is it Buhari, or is it the other gentleman? I know Buhari is not there, but whoever has won, so and so has won at the polling station. The results are placated there. The results are announced there. There's no need for this digital intervention. I'm speaking from a background of professional, which ranges from digital business, software development, from Windows 95, and my plus 16 to 17 years now experience in journalism and documentary production. From what we have seen in Southern Africa, the problem with African citizens is that you are busy talking about elections. Your preoccupation is on running an election. No one is talking about state power. and how to transfer state power. That should be the focus of every alert citizen. On that, I will say what we have seen happening practically down in Southern Africa is that vote rigging does not happen tomorrow. It does not happen 6 months from today. Vote rigging starts today. And state power is taken today. If you wait for it tomorrow, you will never get it. But the problem that we have right now in Nigeria is that people allowed processes that were in themselves vote rigging. This whole infatuation with using software, electronic methods to run an election are in themselves the rigging. And that is where citizens should have at the first screamed out. They should have tasked their MPs or whoever was formulating the laws and the policies of how this election would be run. That is where they should have seized the moment so that reporting is done right at the source. As I said before, I am an advocate of state power now. So I call citizens all over in our country and around the world, if you want state power, you seize it today. You need to deploy methods of taking over power. And you can do that. You don't need any gunpowder. You don't need to do anything sophisticated. Start with the basics. So number one, reporting. You also need to have a very, very vigilant media. A media across your country that has ability to do what it can to help you obtain accurate and timeous reportage of not just the numbers, but also the testimonies from the people that be right at the source. Now, like how we handled it 2 years ago in August 2021, when Edgar Lungu in Zambia had switched off the internet, and he had discovered at the time that he has lost the election to Hichilema. Now, I am one of those who stood behind my desk, and I spent the whole night figuring out how I could get Lungu. As soon as I got his phone number, I rang him at around 6-7 a.m. the following day while the internet was switched off. And I interviewed his spokesperson. The manner of interviewing, folks, is direct and should be sharp. We want answers. Number one, you switched off the internet. How can you convince the people of Zambia that you have not committed a crime? That was how I handled it. And then there were other things as well that I chipped in there, which were also to do with the numbers, the actual numbers, what people had voted for. These are some of those things that need to be done. State power is transferred today. You have to take it every manner possible. You seize it now. And it's unfortunate that in Nigeria, even the people of Biafra, this is something that you could have done. I'm talking about here ensuring that there are processes of reporting that are determined from the onset. You should have had a system in place to ensure that the numbers are reported right at the polling station and called for it and pushed for it. Unfortunately, sometimes the challenge that happens that I've noticed in other countries, even in other countries of Africa, is that the people that would have been elected, the MPs, many of them are compromised. Some are compromised by political actors, some are compromised by those in business. They are hungry, so they would have been paid. So they don't call for these type of systems and methodologies, and it's sad. However, what citizens should do, especially those in the diaspora, is to push for the international community for accountability, to call off an election. It must be discredited at the onset. And once again, time is important. It needs to be discredited immediately. Number two, anyone who has rigged an election should never at any time be called a president, no matter how many UN functions they have attended. Like, we have a classic situation in Zimbabwe where Emerson Mnangagwa goes around calling himself president. When he literally killed a planned, he even announced that he was going to use the army to change the election results. Such a person, no matter what, even if they go to heaven,
Simba, we seem to have lost you. Simba.
Sorry, host, I also can't hear Simba.
Why is Simba being
we have
lost when
lost you.
he's talking about something very critical? Anyway, back to you, host and co-host.
Simba was talking about something about His Excellency. Have you been taken down that side? Has Simba been taken down because you talked about President Mnangagwa and then you stopped? You can come back. You can come back.
I hope he hasn't been removed from the space, because it will make it difficult for him to come back.
No, I removed him from speaking because he was not talking when he was not talking, but he can come back. He's my friend. I know him.
Let me message him to come back.
Yes.
Yeah, because the moment people mention Mnangagwa, they get dropped.
I don't know. Maybe it is his phone, not me. Me, I'm neutral on this. It's up to you, Zimbabweans, yourselves to sort it out. Mr. Panda. Mr. Panda, and then I bring Ambassador Okero from Uganda.
Yeah, Dr. Matsanga, how are you? I think what we are hearing here is people who are desperate for a change. And they think these digital platforms will aid to their ability to change a government or so forth and bring the person that they want. Technology is just there to increase, people say to increase transparency, but we have seen technology failing in its way. I think election preparation is critical for people, and resourcing the people that you are you are putting forward. I think that's paramount in these election contestations. But I think for what we hear majority of the time is people who are angry and desperate for change, and anything that they think will give them that change is seen as a bonus to them. If it doesn't deliver, then there's tempering of that digital platform, or there's tempering of elections candidates. There's tempering. You see, as for Nigeria, as we're speaking about Nigeria at the moment, the videos that are coming out, the messaging that is coming out, you don't need to be talking about vote rigging and think the end result will produce something that you so wish. The videos are telling themselves there's madness going out there. There's madness. People died before even this. Yeah, what people are coming here.
Bandari, The word you have used is very serious on my people. There is madness. You don't need even to seek more evidence. Surely.
No, you don't. And I'm hearing here, people, oh, we want this change. Nigeria has been in a state of war for a long time. There's a big difference in that. You know, the north, the south, even in the south, there's many differences in their political narrative. It's only that they like what Simba was calling upon for the West to be our shoe size makers and tell us what to do. It's absolutely crazy for them. For them, they love it like that. They created Nigeria to be the way it is. It was someone's wife who actually named it Nigeria. You know, one of the owners of the companies, the Niger companies that worked within this space. People, we need to be able to actually see what we are talking about. The differences within the Nigerian spectrum already tells yourself they're at a state of war. So for people to come up and expect a result that suits them because they want that change in the manner that they need, it's a flawed thinking. It's actually massaging our own selves. To actually then come up and think that the West want the best for Nigeria is the most flawed thinking an African child should ever have. A disgruntled Nigerian, an unhappy Zimbabwe, an unhappy Nigeria, an unhappy Uganda, an unhappy Kenya is brilliant for business for these people because then it means they get your resources at a cheaper position. Why would Africa? They call you developing for a reason. They call you third world for a reason. They want you to be like that. So for people like Simba coming up to ask the international space, international world to come up and be the ruler and the maker of of our elections, it's flawed thinking. It's backward thinking. It's really, really backward thinking. We need to be asking ourselves when we go for these elections, how much preparations have we done? How much have the people that were elected in the last election worked within the offices of power, parliament, or MPs, or whatever you want to call them, state governors? How much have they prepared their constitution, or have they done to reform what they seek would be the problem or the hindrance in having a more transparency election? Elections are having, you have transparency elections for your own goodness and the development of your own country, not to please the West, not to please anybody, but for your next generations. So for me, digital elections in Africa, again, Germany doesn't use digital elections and it gets the results they need. It doesn't mean that there's no contestations of results. No, they are contestations of results. American states, they vote differently in many ways. They've got mixed digital and some are not digital. But what we need to be asking ourselves is, at the day of the voting, have you got the electoral people to represent you to see what the result is? What result have you got as evidence? In Zimbabwe election, we had a problem in 2018. We had a contestant who was crying for a vote that he claimed that he had the evidence to, but they failed to produce that in the courts of law. But again, the outcries of these opposition leaders, are they progressive for our countries? No, they're not. Because the more you cry, Abby is making noise. Dr. Matanga. Abby, is it Ambi, Peter? Many apologies. Your system is making so much noise. Yeah. So what we need to be asking ourselves, are we ready for these changes we are seeking? How much preparations have we done to get the change we are seeking? Is the anger we are showing because we are desperate for the change that we want give us the result we need? Who is there to manipulate your anger? It's a very good question for those that understand geopolitics. Dr. Matsanga, you know what I'm talking about when we come to geopolitics. There's someone sitting out there looking at Nigeria thinking the more they fight, the money will be valued by the end of the week. The more oil we are going to buy from them because it is cheaper. There is someone looking at that. The stock exchange and so forth. They are watching if people are going to cause harm to each other so that things and resources can be extracted from Nigeria at a very cheap position. That's what the world is like. This notion of a democratic concept that doesn't exist anywhere in the world is flawed. Perhaps we need to ask ourselves, what digital system has an African child created to monitor their own systems? That's the question. Who is giving you that digital platform for your election? Is the biggest question we need to ask ourselves. Whose technology, whose chips are in there? Who knows it? Who controls it? Who's getting that data? Because it's data collection. What does the data mean to the person whom you are giving that data to? It's a very important question for an African child to ask themselves as they prepare to get any result that they are seeking. There's never going to be another result than the result, especially in Nigeria, the Americans need. Many thanks. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Huh. What? Pandari. Mr. Simba has returned. Simba, what happened to your telephone?
I apologize, Dr. Matsanga. My phone crashed. I hope you can hear me.
We hear you. Finish up your...
Okay, thank you. So what I was saying there was that African citizens now need to understand state power now. You know, having been raised in believing in elections, you know, and being fed this whole, I can call it here, just a bunch of sweets, okay, called elections. This time, citizens need to talk about state power now. They need to explore ways and means to transfer state power without having to use, to commit any crime, because those methods are there. It is possible. Even in Africa, it has been proven. In just 5 years, in the last 5 years, it has been proven that state power can be transferred from an illegal person, from a criminal, a political criminal, or an electoral criminal, to back to the citizens. And I was talking about there, one of those ways is to ensure that people who have proclaimed themselves as winners of elections, to ensure that they are prosecuted one way or the other, whether locally or internationally, and to ensure that wherever they go, as many court cases as they can be. I know, Dr. Matsanga, you are one fervent believer in court processes. I know you have encountered upsets before, but as much as you have, we have seen some successes here and there where international law has worked, even though sometimes it hasn't. So that's one thing there, to ensure that anyone, even someone who calls himself president, from a crime, an electoral crime, must never be called president again at any time. And another model here that is used in some other areas, some other locations here, is that of a government in exile. Governments in exile have worked before. Since World War II, there are regions that have declared themselves governments, and when there is an illegal, what the Pan-Africanists used to do in the 50s, in the 60s, when they were seeking liberation for their people, the present day citizens of Africa need to take up such tasks, such innovative tasks. And you see what also the Israelis did after Second World War. They created a nation that never existed before and called it Israel. And, you know, even 50 years later, 60 years later, people are still disputing. These people can't call themselves a government. But do you know what? It is working. It is actually running the world, because as a group of diasporan Israelis, or Jews, excuse me, they were coming from the tribe of Judah. They created this idea in a country that they said, look, this country must exist no matter what. And they explored different ways of diplomacy, pressure, internationally, locally, to ensure that the nation of Israel is created. So this is another crucial, ambitious project that African citizens should undergo. Another area here, lastly, is that of ensuring that there is efficient prosecution of anyone, everyone, and anyone who has committed crimes such as violence. Now, this area, a lot of people, they pull back because they feel threatened, because they feel, look, it may never work. It has worked. There are numerous groups. I mean, we saw the women in Sudan 4 years ago. These were not politicians. They stood, they just stood for what they knew what was right. Even the African Union that we say is difficult ended up declaring that the military must hand over power to the civilians. Why? Because of young women who said no, state power must be transferred to the civilians. So these are some of these things that I can talk about here. I am a fervent believer in state power now. I preach it, I publish it. As a journalist, I push for it in all my interviews. But not just that, I operationalize it. I have proven that it works. And the transfer of power in Zambia is such an example. That you can get state power even where you think it can never come. You can get it. And this is what African citizens should wake up to. Stop allowing someone else to dictate your future simply because they've got guns, simply because they've got money. If you organize yourself and you believe in this thing, you can be anything. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my friend Simba, and your friend next to you is Pandare. Pandare has a different view.
Pandare is lost. You know, Dr. Matsanga, we're talking state power. We're not talking politics today. We're talking about state power. Look at the nation of Zambia. Look at how beautiful. Hold on, Dr. Matsanga. Look at the success in Zambia. Hold on, Dr. Matsanga. Hold on. Look at the economy. Look at how things are nicely shaping out in Zambia. Yeah, that was a result. Okay. That is a result of people who came together to operationalize state power now. African citizens need to start talking and operationalizing state power now. And state power doesn't come tomorrow. It comes now, today. Don't wait for it. If you wait for it, you will never get it.
Okay. I think you are trying to form a government in exile.
No, I'm not. I'm simply talking. I'm just, hold on. I'm a publisher. Hold on. Dr. Matsanga, I'm a publisher. Dr. Matsanga, hold on. I'm a news editor, right? And I'm simply talking about the problems that are bedeviling our continent. And I'm bringing the solutions. The solutions work. There are solutions that can work. It's just that you people don't have the imagination that it takes.
Simba.
I'm done.
Simba, thank you very much. I have been in exile longer than you. We tried to form the government in exile. They came and poisoned half of us. And some of us survived the poison. So they brought very beautiful women from some country. I don't want to mention it. And some of my friends fell victims. The only man who survived, I think, were 3 of us who are still in London, and another one somewhere in the US.
Right. Dr. Matsanga, let me ask you quickly. Yes. If someone steals your car today, right? Someone steals your car and drives it off to Luton, yeah? And then they change the registration number. And we know this is Matsanga's car. Yeah? 2 years from today, we see that car driving. If I call that car John Smith's car, I am participating in the crime of theft. I am assisting in the theft. That is what we are doing. Every time when an African politician rigs elections, we strengthen that criminal by giving them the title deeds or the logbook to a car that doesn't belong to them. That is our problem.
Let me ask one question.
Go ahead.
It looks like in Africa now where we are heading is that both the government and opposition are seeking punitive measures against each other from foreign countries instead of resolving the core problem. I've seen the government asking someone to do something. I saw Maika in Uganda, Mr. Bob Wine was not allowed, was told he cannot enter Qatar. Was it United Arab Emirates? He was detained at the airport for a long time because he went there. He has been going there. By this time, instructions were made. Is that the politics that we really want? We see, look at Nigeria, for example, now. We know it very well, that this thing called access server. Access server. What is access? If you told me back room, I would accept. But access server, up to now, nobody can even say so many votes have been counted, so and so has got so. It is empty. So this is creating something that I wanted us to discuss here. And I can see, Simba, you have made your point. I will bring that topic tomorrow, another day as the weeks come. I want to find out when do we reach and at what time do we recognize our governments. Rule of law, as a lawyer says, when you reach the court and the Supreme Court of a country says, although this and that has happened, this and that, this happened. No British national, no government official in Britain will listen to you once this man has gone through the court of law. But if he has grabbed the power and is cutting you to pieces by coming through a military coup, they will listen to you. But once the peace process has gone to court, you went to court, the court ruled. The British establishment where I've been, where you are, will never touch such a president. Even if you come dancing on a needle, they will tell you, our interests, we are trying to engage, and we shall continue to engage. Mugabe, we shall continue, because Mugabe...
Obvious, Dr. Matsanga. When it comes to head of states, it's difficult. It's not that easy. But look, it has happened. Not that it's impossible. It has happened before. But you can start with the lower ranks, like the deputy. The deputy can be arrested at any time. The ministers, the army generals, any person like in the UK who has committed torture, even slapped someone. If someone slaps you in the middle of Nairobi, Dr. Matsanga, and then flies over to the UK, you can get them prosecuted. If they fly over to South Africa, you can also get them prosecuted in South Africa. The international community here, we need to understand one thing. The world is one big country of countries because of the United Nations. And you know, I've heard this argument of saying, oh, don't do this, don't look for sanctions, don't do this. You know, why not? If someone has committed Zimbabwean crime in Zimbabwe, and then they're hiding behind immunity because they're simply called President so-and-so, or because they're an ambassador, we can get them prosecuted at any corner of the world, even in the middle of the ocean. Citizens need to realize this power, this state power now that they already have. Operationalize it, and that's the only way African citizens are going to enjoy the benefits of their citizenry, of their citizenship. There is no other way Yeah, there is no other way than pursuing legal, diplomatic, but not just that here, every manner of force possible that is legal
Okay.
to stop these criminals. So Dr. Masanga, this thing can work. It has worked. But
Okay.
but my earlier submission there was on the issue of reporting at the elections. The figures need to be reported at the source, at the polling station there, where once people have tallied the votes, you don't need the results to be transmitted to some server somewhere in Lagos or in Abuja.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you.
At the polling station, so and so has won. Period. We should work, and even legally, that should be the position today on Sunday. Unfortunately, our citizens are divided, or citizens are motivated. And it's unfortunate that African citizens are not confident of the power they have to obtain state power now, today on Sunday, not to wait for tomorrow for someone else to announce that this car is yours. Dr. Matsanga, over to you. This is the news. This is the news that I publish, and this is the news that every journalist, not just in Africa, around the world, should publish and pursue to publish here. We need to deal with the law as it is. Someone steals a car is the same as someone else who has stolen an election. They're all criminals. They
Okay.
must be locked up. They must
Thank
be
you.
stopped, and they must never be called a
Thank you
president.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, my
I
brother.
can see why the heavens dropped him earlier on. I can see why the heavens
Yes.
really tried to drop
Hey,
him on.
Pandari. We have had a good debate. And Simba Chikanza, that you have had, you are mature, resilient party. And you accommodate some of these, offshoot bullets. So that don't harass. He has made his point. Is okay. Is agitating for people to catch, to start thinking very hard. Like the election of Nigeria, we need to think very fast as to why somebody could take an access, what is it called, access server. Yet the election has already been concluded. Just transmit the thing to the portal, to the collation center, backroom server. Then they upload it to the portal. But up to now, when you look at
You don't need
no
all those
portal.
things. You don't need a portal. You don't need a server. Just report the numbers, period, and we all go home.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Siva. Now, it is hot. Ambassador Okero from Uganda. The question is, were these digital elections that the West is telling us to have, that every African country, Bongo, Ali Bongo, the son of Omar Bongo, he can't even walk. God has just given him life to smile and eat. He can't leave it. He's going for elections again. But he's using digital. Gabon is going to elections. It is going to use a digital platform. The other time they killed 300 people. And they banned the Supreme Court and the parliament of that country. In Congo, in Gabon, sorry. This time, we don't know what they want to do. Maybe we want to wait until they ban more people, then we come back to the platforms and talk. I want to hear from you, Ambassador Okero. Your internet seems to be jumping up and down. But you can make your comment now. Ambassador Okello. Ambassador Okello once.
Sorry, host, are you sure they're still on the speakers?
Yeah.
I don't see them on the speakers. I think someone dropped. I'm not sure what's happening.
I am here. Okay.
No, I mean ambassador, the ambassador you're talking about. I can't. Oh,
now
there
he has come.
Oh, okay.
He has come. Then you are next. Prepare your speech. Ambassador Okello, what's going on, Baba, from Uganda, Kampala, Morocco?
Thank you. First of all, my internet has been unfriendly, and I apologize for that. Thank you for giving me the opportunity again. I want to first rebut the previous speaker's comment, in which he indicated that there's need for the intervention of the international community in the affairs of Africa. Well, I have seen there have been lots of issues in Africa, but the so-called international community, really, of course, people mean the America and the United Kingdom and other parts of Europe. They only intervene if they want to cause more chaos. We have seen it in Libya. We have seen it in which country? In part of Sudan, the other part of Sudan. They intervene either directly or they manipulate some Nyampalas, some of their prefects in Africa to cause chaos. To rely on the international community is not really, in my view, sorry to say, sensible, because these guys are happy when Africa is chaotic. A chaotic Nigeria is good for America and Britain to do business. It is good for France if West African countries are not stable, so that they can plunder, they can exploit. That is the geopolitics that we know. They are not really our friends. They are simply pretenders who want us to keep in our chaotic scene, so that they keep looting us and tormenting us. Look at the chaos in the Democratic Republic of Congo, in Somalia, and elsewhere. Of course, also in part of Nigeria. So we as African people, the victims, need to simply open our eyes and come together to rebuild our continent, make it the continent that was before colonialism. I think that is what we ought to do. The international community will unfortunately not be able to help us. Even the African Union, the one that succeeded the OAU, was by now supposed to be mature enough to settle some of the questions that are tormenting the citizens of Africa. But unfortunately, it's different. It's the exact opposite of what we expected. You know, when I get to reading history and I see documentaries about the previous regimes, those great men of Africa, the Nkrumahs, the Milton Obote Nyerere, and so on and so on, who fought for the liberation of Africa. These guys were not only concentrating in their respective countries, they were focusing on Africa. In fact, the president of Uganda one time threatened to pull Uganda out of the Commonwealth if Britain was to continue selling arms to the racist apartheid regime in South Africa. I am aware that those days in respective countries, parliament in those local countries debate issues pertaining to Africa. How many African parliaments today rise up to debate issues of Somalia? How many African parliaments today, have you ever heard that Uganda, for example, Uganda parliament is debating the elections in Nigeria? Have you heard that the parliament in Ghana is debating the question, the suffering of the people in Congo and Somalia and so on? Every country is on their own, and that is very unfortunate for East Africa. For Africa. In East Africa here, there are countries that are still funding rebel groups against the other, and they are members of the East African community. This is the question, this is the issue that should open our eyes. If we continue to fight internally as regional blocs and then fight in our own continent, the beneficiary
will not be the children and the orphans and the widows of Africa, but will be the traders in Europe and in America. That is the question. The situation that is unfolding in Nigeria, of course, is a shame. From the time most of these candidates, presidential candidates, expressed their interest, the citizens of Africa, of Nigeria, have been really animated, very excited, very hopeful. And when they were going to vote, they were not just going to vote respective candidates. They were voting for clean water. They were voting for electricity. They were voting for employment. They were voting for national unity and reconciliation. They were voting for the empowerment of women and the emancipation of the suffering. They are not voting for Peter B, neither were they voting for Atiku. I know there are those who are voting for their tribes, of course. There are those who are voting, casting their ballots for self-aggrandizement. But indeed, the voices of the young people of Nigeria indicated that they were voting for hope, and for a few people to come up and impose their own interests and their own way of doing things, disrespecting the will of the people, disrespecting the system that has been established. That, of course, you see, let's follow this way, let's vote the leader directly. It is an insult not only to the people of Nigeria, but to Africa and also to humanity, indeed. And therefore, I conclusively say such people who disabuse the rights, who abuse the rights of others, who consider that it is better to cause chaos, they are the agents of conflict in Africa. I am speaking from the perspective of a peace fellow, and I look at this election as ways of generating more chaos and conflict in Africa. If a few people come to impose their own interests, their own way of selecting leaders, then they are fueling conflict. I think they're interested in full-scale war. They're interested in the stability of their continent. Whoever is interested in the unity, in the peace, and in the stability of Africa should ensure that they follow the set rules, making sure that whoever wins the election wins fairly and credibly, and that election is reported as a free, fair, credible, and verifiable election. Not elections that are imposed on people. We have seen this in countries all across across Africa. Recently, a few months ago, the elections, of course, were held in Kenya, and to date, there's a section of them who still believe that the election was rigged. I still want to know, really, Mr. Matsanga, how difficult is it to open the server so that the truth is known and we settle this thing of Kenya once and for all also? Is there a law that allows for the opening of the server?
But why don't servers just be opened just because you want something? You see, you need to trust your processes. The way you are saying here, Mr. Amba, it's what builds into this narrative. As articulate as you are making the situation worse. Your elections came, a winner went about. You can't satisfy everybody. You asking that the servers needs to be opened, and yet Odinga didn't ask that in the courts of law, is a flawed narrative. You're actually telling the children of Africa to think negative about that election. It is you who's doing it.
But it is
you who has just done it. Okay.
It is the very
Months after.
Forgive me, host.
Okay,
Host,
thank you.
talking when it's not his time.
Dr. Matanga, I think maybe Dr. Matanga has gone to the toilet. When he comes
Yeah.
back, I'm going to. Yeah, okay. Dr.
Okay.
Matanga, can you please? Can there be order, please? Because Ambassador
Order.
has been
Order.
yes.
Order.
Because, yeah, thank
All
you.
of you,
So,
order on the
Ambassador,
platform.
yeah,
All of you.
continue. Yeah.
Okay, it is.
All of you, order, please. Ambassador was still on the floor. And
Yeah.
Pandare, if you want to speak, you go through me.
And I am
I
happy that
wanted
he has.
Ambassador to finish his point.
I am happy that,
And
of course.
he's asking a very cardinal question.
Yeah, I am happy that he has come up
He's
with that
asking,
question.
is it possible for the is it possible for these servers to be opened?
Yes,
I'm not
even.
a Kenyan, and I've told you I don't want to discuss Kenyan politics. There are Kenyans on this platform who can answer that.
Yes,
And the
Dr.
match is
Matanga,
one of
I'll
those.
relieve you from that. The servers were opened today, Ambassador. Yes, so please continue. Yeah.
Okay, if they are open, then it's great. It will set us.
Can I comment on that kindly? Can I comment on that kindly?
If
Who is that now?
Maxwell here, Dr.
That's
Matanga.
Maxwell.
Please, there's a queue. I see there's no queue here.
Okay. Hold the fire. Ambassador, have you finished?
Not yet. I'm about to finish.
Ambassador, have you finished?
I am about to conclude.
Finish.
Yes.
And anybody wanting to speak, go through me or my button will work. I take you out. Me, I don't have any other message. Out.
Okay. Thank you.
Go.
Thank you.
Yes.
See,
you, Ambassador, finish.
Yeah. We raise these issues because they are the ones that cause instability in our communities. So if there's a complaint from one angle, then we have to respond to those complaints. And you see, one particular person complaining is complaining for a majority of, for millions of people. I was just inquiring. I'm not a lawyer, of course. If there's a law that allows such things to be done even after Supreme Court has made a ruling, then of course the server has to be opened. As someone has already indicated here that the server has been opened, then I may need to get back to the media to verify, because the chaos that is waiting in Kenya is not going to be good for the prosperity and for the stability of that country. We all know, of course, the election in Africa is characterized by manipulation of the media, the switching of the internet, the bribing of voters and the bribing of polling agents, polling officials, intimidation of opponents along with their supporters, arresting them, detaining them all across Africa, including my own country. It is a shame, and its implication on peace cannot be left undebated. These are things that we need to talk about. The question of the Biafrans, the people from the other region of the late Ojukwu, the Biafra, is something that, of course, needs to be answered. It is like rape. If you are forcing a community to be on you, to be part of you, and they want to leave, is rape. While, of course, cessation may even not lead to peace, as we have witnessed in South Sudan.
Ambassador Okero, don't touch it.
Hello?
That is a life wire. Don't touch it. You know very well that's a life wire. You are bringing chaos and bombs and missiles on this platform.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for guiding me. Thank you for guiding me.
Wait, Ambassador Nkrumah told Patrice Lumumba not to antagonize the Americans. Leave it sleep. Leave sleeping dogs lie. Yes. We have gone very far, very well. Then you want to.
Thank you for.
Mr. Oudu.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. But these are things we should get back to on the table and sit and talk about them, so that we can all live together in harmony.
You know,
Masanga, I met.
You know very well, Ambassador, that a Fulani and the Igbo will never live together. Yes, they will live. They can live together in Germany, in London. But when you return them to Lagos or Port Harcourt or Abuja,
Dr. Matsanga, I met Dr. Matsanga in 2017. I met a Nigerian in Westminster, just close to Regent's Park, and he told me President Obote was silly. He was silly because he failed. He should have actually accepted Buganda Kingdom to be its own state, just as it is with some enclave states in South Africa. It would cost us nothing. But that refusal has made Uganda to go through a lot of many other challenges, which have continued to live to this day. Now, what I now mean is that there is need for Nigeria to sit down with the Biafrans on the table and discuss the future. They have to dialogue.
Okay.
And if it is within the, yes.
Let me give my mic to somebody else. Boss, Ambassador, thank you very much, my brother. We worked together. I know you, that's why I'm giving you a lot of respect. But don't go to that area. That's a gray area. That's
okay. Conclusively, as I said before, the current model of democracy does not work for Africa. What Africa requires is what we call
a renaissance.
What did I call it that last time? Not a renaissance as such. Government unity that built around consensus. We need a consensus where every community feels represented in governance. I submit.
Okay. You better get some lessons on the Plateau Republic from Dr. Matsanga. Because there is nowhere in the Plateau Republic where it says there is need of consensus. Neither is there in the Plateau Republic which says you should.
That is not African philosophy. That is not African political philosophy.
Now I will teach you even African philosophy that we need to negotiate. But let me take you to religion, Ambassador. I agree with you that the Bible says before you reach the court, ask your tormentor. Tell your tormentor the truth. Look in his eye and say, please, don't finish me. I did this. You might sort the matter before you enter the judge to sentence you. That is what the politics you want, isn't it? That is it. The politics of consensus, the politics of agreement without bloodshed, without too much competition. But one question that I want to pose to the platform, does Africa need elections? Do we need elections? That is the next topic, match. And that does Simba is gonna kill me over this. We don't need elections, honest. We wasted the little money to conduct elections.
Please, can those who've spoken give us time?
Dr. Matsanga.
Hold the fire. Let me finish. Look at how many billions Nigeria has wasted when they don't have even power to the villages. At least for me in Uganda, I'm very proud. Despite all these problems, there is power almost everywhere. You can charge your phone everywhere. In the forest of Mount Elgon, there is a power line. But Nigeria wasted all this money on an election where election material like ink pad, you know the ink pad and the stamp. Yesterday they were saying some funny things that the returning officer has forgotten the ink pad. Surely, is that an election in Africa? Or who bewitched us? As Kinawa Achebe said, the tragedy of Africa is we don't know ourselves. Let's bring Boss. Boss, you have been very eager.
Finally. But has Madge spoken before me? Because I saw her hand up. I just want to verify before I go through Dr. Matsanga. Has Madge spoken? Because before I came in, she had her hand up. If you could just clarify, please.
No, she has.
I have spoken, Bosilani. Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. So what I would ask for from Padare is don't interject me as I'm giving my contribution, please.
Human rights activist, it's fine.
That's fine. Now whether I'm a human rights activist or what,
ladies and gentlemen. Hey. Boss and the Padare. Boss and the Padare. Today is the question of Nigeria. Let's suspend Zimbabwe, CCC, and the ZANU-PF. I will bring you, I am myself going to bring one of the hottest topics that will bring all of you to the platform and you hammer each other. I have no problem. In fact, this time I will be taking off my vest and sit and watch you hammer each other. But for today, please, Pandare, and the boss, my daughter, please concentrate on Nigeria first. Don't hammer each other here now. I have no energy to control this. Thank you very much. Boss, go ahead.
I apologize. I'm so sorry. I respect you very much. I do apologize. But this brother of mine, just knowing that he's by my side right now, it's itching me the wrong way. But because I respect you, I'll behave. I'll behave. Padare, behave. Okay. So the topic is a very good topic. You asked a question which I really like. Should Africa have elections? And I would say absolutely. Because if we don't have elections, what we seem to end up doing is creating a monarch like they have in the UK or any other country where there's that kind of thing of kings and queens and you know, nobody else can contest. It becomes an issue of being bloodline. Like for you to lead, it's based on your blood, not based on whether people support you or not, but rather who you're born into, who birthed you, so to say, and that becomes very problematic. I hope I've answered you there. And then the point of this whole digital elections that we're talking about, looking at what's happening in Nigeria, one thing we have to understand is whenever we're becoming in a digital age, it's no longer the Stone Age, right? So we have to understand that we, as Africa, not just Nigeria and what's happening everywhere else, we need to start moving with the times. And I'm quite worried because it seems as if Africa, which is the beacon, which I believe is the beacon of the world, is actually lagging behind in a lot of these kind of scenarios where if we have digital this, a digital that, like moving with the times. Does it mean that digital election becomes transparent or whatnot? That's where the safety guards come in. That is where your security department are supposed to come in to ensure that things are done in a way which they become credible, that checks and balances are made. Because with every system, including the types that are used in any other country, there's nothing which doesn't have an error. Errors do happen, but what are the checks that are put in place? And we need to be in a situation where we can always go back and say, okay, a mistake was made here. This was hijacked somewhere. So-and-so is looking into it. They've got information. And this is how it happens, because that we can never run away from. Checks and balances will always be needed, especially when you're dealing with high-profile elections of any kind. Now, another thing that I really hope we can all learn from what is happening in Africa, especially, I know it's Nigeria that we're looking at, but in Africa, if you've learned one lesson that I've seen, where I'm based, do you know the Chinese, what they do? They'll go to universities all over the world. They literally don't, some will stay in China, fair enough, but the majority of them, they go all over the world to different universities abroad. They learn what they've learned. And you know, after they finish, they've gained their degrees, their masters or their whatevers, they go back to their countries. This is what I feel Africa is not doing more of. What you see is a situation whereby we've gone and learned abroad. What happens is you stay in that country, you build a life. Those expertise that you've gained from the Western plains where you've gone, you don't bring it back home. Because imagine if these digital election, the systems were being created by Africans, not Americans, not the Westerners. Because remember, you've gained that education. We do have Africans who are able and capable of doing these things, but are they doing it back home, or are they staying in the foreign countries where they've either gone to study and so forth? So would we have the same question right now that we're asking ourselves of whether it's designed to cause chaos and conflict? If it was an African who was doing it in your country, would we have the same concerns? Would we have the same, ideas to say, no, this is a Western thing, therefore it's creating conflict, it's creating chaos? That's the question that I want to pose to people here today. If you heard Salani has gone abroad to study, and I know how to design this digital election system that can work, and we have the proper checks and balances, would we have the same question? But I feel, because it's always about the Europeans, who it's the services from them, or the Westerners who are coming into our countries and then providing this, because our own people are not doing the same. We then have these questions, which are fair enough, and it's good to have them. But also, let's not forget, what makes it for a country or a system to want to become digital? Does that not mean that what they're currently using is problematic? We need to look at the issue, because I think a lot of focus is going into the digital elections rather than looking at the credibility of elections. Are they free and fair? Are they credible? If those three boxes are not being ticked, therefore you find that people would say, okay, let's try something different. This is where the discussion should go. I think we need to focus more on why then have digital elections. What went wrong prior? What are the benefits? What are the, obviously, the negatives as well, which I'm hearing a lot of. But we also need to start from the beginning to ask, why then use this system? If the current system is working, elections are free, fair, and credible, then why there would be no need for this? But if there are question marks as to the transparency and accountability of elections that are being run, then of course we can then understand why people or citizens would prefer one system rather than the other. I'll land there. Thank you so much, Dr. Matsanga.
Thank you very much, my sister. And Pandare, have you seen how good things are? Thanks. Have you seen how if you keep quiet,
human rights activist, she's really
when you
brilliant.
keep quiet, things go quickly. But when you start interrupting with our ladies in Zimbabwe don't want interruption. Ask me, I'm an editor there, I'm a watcher. When my Zimbabwe friend is talking, I keep quiet and run away. So ask me. I'm a Mukwasha. So Bento from Nigeria, I believe, Mr. Bento, give us the latest on the ground. These machines were designed for who? Are the people manipulating the machines? Margie says they are not a problem. But the people, the agents, those handling them are the problem. You see, I've summarized what Margie was trying to say. Not that she agreed that they are good. She said they are not bad, but they help to transmit information. And most of you who have spoken said there is something which is not right. Mr. Maxwell says access server is a waiting room for operation when you want to go to the theater. So are these guys operating on these results before they arrive? That is the question. Up to now, we can't see the portal. There is nothing on the portal. I've looked at it and I'm anxious to see what Atiku has got, what Obi has got, what Tinubu has got, what Kwanzaa has got, Kwanzaa has got. I am eager. Nothing has trickled. Bento, tell us.
Thank you, Dr. David Matsanga. I just want to comment on the server. I think there's a misconception there. Whatever is in the server, remember, is put there by people. The most important thing is the document itself. Like in Zimbabwe, we have what we call a V11, where the results are recorded at the polling station. Then at the district level, they go to V23. Then those V23s are now fed by hand into the server. A server just shows what the human being does. So trying to see where the results were being cooked using the server is not the right way. You must always use the primary documents, which means the document which is at polling station level. I've seen in Nigeria, I saw some specimen. At every polling station, there's a document where every result is located. And what's in the server is what people put in there. So the first place we should go to is what's put on those forms at polling stations, or to open the box itself and recount. So I don't know why people are putting the server in there. I know the server can be hacked, but we can always go back to the primary documents. That's all I can say for now, at least. Thank you, Dr. Matsanga, for giving me an opportunity to say what I believe is the true story about election counting and results. I've landed. Thank you.
Dr. Matsanga, are you there? Bento
I'm
is
here.
done. Okay.
I'm here. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Bento, thank you very much. And I thank you, all of you. I'm not closing the topic. I still have another 45 minutes because I am going to be on News Central at around 7 o'clock for my analysis, which is much needed, maybe to give some hope to people who are already losing hope. So thank you very much. I will now call upon somebody. There are people who have not spoken here, people who have just come new. Dominic, Don Cruz, can you pick the microphone, sir? And before I call rebuttal from those who have spoken before to emphasize their points and make it very clear which side. Elections are emotive in Africa, but if not well organized, they can trigger conflicts. In short, that is what my question was heading to. These digital elections, since we started them, no country has not gone to court to resolve their elections. Zambia almost went to court, but some of us told Lungu, who were friends of Lungu, we said, don't go. Leave it, accept. Kenya, you saw, they went to court. DRC Congo, you saw, they went to court. Up to today, they don't greet each other. Ethiopia, it went to the serious battle, war. Blood was flowing, thanks God. And I don't see, I have proposed President Kenyatta and Obasanjo and the South African deputy to be given peace, Nobel peace. Yes, they killed that conflict. I am smiling where I am when I see people in Ethiopia who are Tigray sitting in Addis Ababa in their former offices without anybody harassing them. Uhuru Kenyatta, Obasanjo, and the South African deputy president, former, they must get a Nobel Prize, laureate peace prize that is given to non-performers who turn around and do nothing. At least for these ones, they have stopped one of the most complicated conflict that was going to draw armies from the entire Horn of Africa and North Africa. So I've proposed that, and I will continue to fight for it until people hear. So the Nigerian issue brings a lot of on the surface. Surely, even if you say there are people who claim that Zimbabwe has violence, or that people allege, I don't want to be misquoted, but the type of violence you have seen the type of violence I've seen in Nigeria. Boss, I know you are coming now. You want to say things are bad. Wait. But I want you also to compare that type of violence when you are replying with the one in Nigeria, where men are coming out with guns. They shoot. It is not a lie. It is being shown on the TV. They are shooting, and the police come later on, as if police has worked with them to disperse later on when these guys have burnt the place. Is that an election? But above all, why do we take the things of a white man without asking. Why? Why do we just take the digital beavers and then you say you are storing it and there is an access server to put it there? Why is it there 24 hours? 48, it's come to 36 hours now. Nobody has even posted one result. Let me hear from somebody who has not spoken at all, whom I've just brought on the platform. Sadiq, I know you're a peacemaker.
Hello, doctor. Doctor, good afternoon.
I know you're a peacemaker and yesterday you voted.
Yes, I voted, sir.
Where is the portal? Why is the portal empty?
Yeah, so I think there is so much. If I'm to talk about the issue that has been going on, especially in regards to the whole Biba situation, but all at the polling unit where I voted, and I have to give it to Dr. Masanga because I last time when we were on space, I think I mistakenly caught you wrong on one thing because you have be a voters apathy, which I do deny, and I even go against it. That definitely with the kind of new voters registration, so I expect the voters turnout to be more of what I have seen yesterday because there is a lot, like there is low of voters turnout, especially in my polling unit and my ward because I have visited almost 4 polling units. The kind of voters turnout I have seen, it is not encouraging to the democracy we are, fighting for because a lot of people have stayed at home, just waiting.
So Sadiq,
yes,
Sadiq,
sir.
you just
Yes.
say it loudly and give me so that the people on the platform
Yes.
can give me a clap. I want especially Marge.
Yes.
Marge
Yes.
should clap for me.
You deserve
I
that.
studied this subject, Marge.
You deserve
better
that. You
clap
deserve that.
for me and give me hugs. I predicted that there will be voter apathy.
Yeah, actually,
And there it is. Thank
actually, in my polling unit, there is a low voters turnout, especially when you compare with the previous election with the current election. In our previous election, I think we had more than 700 people who voted, but this election we have only 375 people or more so that voted. So definitely there is low in voters turnout. But there is something that caught my attention. The issue of beavers. Yes, this is the new technology that was introduced by INEC, I think, as of last 2020. But I don't think if they are 100% ready about the issue of beavers, because what happened in my polling unit is that we have a very conducive, because everyone was given an opportunity to decide without being intimidated by any, because we any present talks in our polling unit. But what happened is that the issue of accreditation, the issue of accreditation is going very slow. At my polling unit yesterday, that's what got very thinking of. Maybe I should just go home because I have been person number one on my line. So before I got chance to vote, I definitely I almost around 3 to something in the evening. So it is really frustrating with the way the accreditation is going very slow. I don't know whether it is from the staff focus or something, but the accreditation is very slow, and the issue of next step coming later. I don't think if we fix that in my polling unit because they came very early. But I have to give it to you that there is very low voters out.
Okay, your internet is becoming a problem.
Oh, Oh, you can't hear me.
No, your internet is a problem. If you can drop, then come back. I'll bring you back. Drop.
Your internet is buffering.
Yes, that is for the bosses like Maxwell. Buffering. Thank you very much. Tony Cyrus, I don't know where you are from, but you have the chance today to talk to us. And then March, you prepare your rebuttal or final comments as we go. And all those who have spoken, Maxwell, all of you, you have heard all about this. Then let's prepare our final comments. Let me begin with Tony Cyrus. Then I come now, after that's round one, I come back to the people who have spoken, Marge, Pandare, Boss, Max, and the rest. Tony, where are you from, sir?
Thank you, Doctor. Good afternoon. I am speaking from Nigeria, and hello, everyone. I just wanted...
Which state is that?
Plateau State, north central part of Nigeria.
Yes, Plateau. I love the people from Plateau State.
Thank you very much. Go ahead. Yes. So just to make a comment on the topic about using digital devices. I think that from my observation from where I am, a lot of people here were confident that the introduction of the digital tools for accreditation would lessen the possibility of rigging elections, which has been prevalent in most of the elections that we've had in the country. And a lot of these people who were confident about this were mostly young people, because we understand the vital role that digital tools play in regards to making processes more efficient. I was listening to the other speaker who mentioned something about having low voter, having some level of voter apathy. I just want to bring that into perspective. So indeed, some areas did experience low voter turnout, but majority actually turned out to vote. This is because there has been some increase in the level of political consciousness amongst the people of Nigeria, and people thought that this was one opportunity that they would head to the polls and make their voices heard. And a lot of people did turn out, at least speaking from my state. So the issue we had was from the commission, which was managing the election. Most of the polling units, they arrived late, so elections were supposed to start at about 8:30 in the morning, but in most cases, the officials arrived there about 2 hours, 3 hours, some even 4 hours late to start conducting the elections. And this is why, if you look throughout the reports that have been brought out, a lot of the elections ran into the night as of 11 p.m., 12 p.m. Some people slept at the polling units trying to ensure that they casted their votes. But unfortunately, the BVAS device were programmed to stop at about 10 p.m. thereabout, which caused a lot of commotion, confusion in the process. And in most cases, you would find out that even for polling units that had registered voters more than 1,000, like my own polling unit, we were about 1,500 that showed up. And by the time I left, that was about the number of people that showed up yesterday. And unfortunately, not up to 30% were able to vote, because the process, like the previous speaker spoke about, was slow. So we also noticed that the people who came as officials were not properly trained. They were inexperienced with crowd control. These were some of the issues that made everything kind of slow, and you would hear from the results that the voter turnout from accreditation numbers were low, but in fact, people showed up for the elections, just that the INEC, the commission in itself weren't competent enough to handle the amount of people that showed up yesterday for the elections.
Thanks, Tony. Dr. Matsanga, over to you.
Silas, have you finished?
Yes, I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I want to thank all of you for having spoken in the first round. And I can see, Sadiq, you come back again. I've put you up. Prepare your parting shots. Let me go back to the speakers who have spoken so far, so that I give you a minute each and a minute and a half to make your submissions where you have gathered something from my friend, where you concede a bit, where you add something you can add. But let me first of all here, because the Nigerians themselves on the ground, the people who are voting using these machines are saying these machines are not working at all. This is another guy who's on the ground in the Plateau State who is saying there were 1,500 people, but the machines stopped and things did not go well by the time he left. Now, it has not only happened in Nigeria, it has happened everywhere where machines were used for BVRs or beavers are used. So do we continue with beavers? Do we continue to make mistakes, create conflicts in Africa? Or do we continue change tactics? Can we go back to our manual system? Just as Britain counts its vote, Germany counts its vote manually. They only have equipment to check whether the ballots are the same ballots. And all the ballots go through one scanner. These are the things that we need to now look at as us Africans. Who is designed? They were designed, they make work easy, but are we the Africans ourselves, are we manipulating them? Are the people handling these machines the cause of all the troubles that we have during elections in Africa? What can we do to change Africa? Yogi, I can see you, your hand is up. You have come again, and you are on the ground in Yogi, you are on the ground in Nigeria. Tell us from your point of view where you are now before I bring in March.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Yesterday, I don't know, a lot of people did vote, but it was virtually impossible for me to vote because my polling unit is in my old neighborhood, and I am so far away from there that I had to spend the night. I have to spend the night in my old neighborhood if I have any opportunity to vote. And but I went out to observe the election in my neighborhood, and I can say that I was shocked because normally the youth are not normally involved in elections the way, especially in Lagos. People which you wouldn't expect to come out to vote. Like, it seems people really believe in the democratic process now. I think they believe in Africans or Nigerians specifically in democracy has increased significantly. because people really think that their vote can have a say, that if they come outside and vote, it can have a real effect. But we go back to the fundamental problem of our country, because the people want to take their power and vote. The people really surprised me yesterday, especially the youth. I keep emphasizing on the youth because on the long run, if you study Nigeria's election, in Nigeria, we have 60% of the population to be youths. And we find out that most of the youth are not interested in elections. They are not interested in politics. But with Peter Obi and the social media campaign, because Labour Party had a very, very comprehensive social media campaign with a lot of social media influencers on their side, and campaigning and influencing people. So I'm happy that the youth now are involved. I think that is the only positive I can really say I've experienced. Like people I don't expect, people I never thought would vote. People, you know, youths that, you know, people that would be normally scared. You know, people were getting injured. There was a woman that got injured. They injured her on the face. She still went back to vote. There are a lot of people that were threatened. They ran away, and they still went back and made sure that they casted their vote. So it says a lot about the Nigerian population, and it says a lot about the present administration, because the present administration has really pushed people. They have pushed people to vote. They have pushed people to realize that elections can work. At the same time, people believe these things, but there are people in power. There are powerful people. There are people in politics trying to manipulate the vote at the same time. There are people that have paid people to disrupt the election. Because if you look on Twitter, on the social media, there are series of videos circulating where there are armed men, where there are thugs and hoodlums chasing people, destroying election materials, while in other places there are manipulations by INEC officials. There are other places in Lagos where they are threatening a certain tribe. Definitely, you know, these people are not acting alone. Definitely, we know these people are being sponsored by powerful people. So now, if the masses believe so much in democracy, is it that the political parties themselves don't believe in democracy? Because if the masses really go out in a way that I didn't predict, that I never thought, I was so shocked when I saw the youths, especially, you know. But if the youth now want to take their future in their hands, is it that it is the political parties or the rich Nigerians, the powerful Nigerians, the powerful people in these political parties that are now trying to disrupt the electoral process, even when the masses are willing now, even when the youth are willing now? You know, Peter Obi had the support of the youth. Peter Obi had the support of the youth. I'm not a fan of Peter Obi. I'm not a fan of any politician. But I can say that he really charmed the youth. He really got support from the youth. And it is very impressive. I'm very happy that the youth can come together and, you know, and participate. And it is giving me a hope. If more youth can come outside to vote, more educated youth, more vibrant youth, and maybe we have a candidate as youth. If we had a younger candidate, maybe somebody of 40 years or 45 years, let's create our own political party. We don't need to tag along with these corrupt political parties we know. Even Labour Party itself, I don't think, okay, for example, if Labour Party wins the presidential election as of today, if they win, they will still have APC in the Senate and House of Rep. They will still have APC and PDP there. And at the end of the day, the Labour Party president will have to ally with them to be able to do anything meaningful. So I don't think the problem of Africa is in political parties or elections. That can be a temporary solution to our problems. But I think our problems is when we come together as Africans and forget about the way our countries are distribution. Forget about our countries, forget about our tribes, forget about our religions, and come together just as Africans. Come together because of the melanin in your hair, in your skin, in your eyes, in your nose, just come together for being African. And let us come together and have a discussion on how we can go forward. Because if we keep doing election this way, if we keep operating this way, where people try to disrupt election, democracy can work. It's not like democracy cannot work, but it has never worked in Africa. It has never worked in Africa. And the few African countries that have progressed, a high percentage of them are not democratic. So the democracy can work, but it has not proven to work in Africa. So we don't want a situation where we are taking guidelines from other countries, from other people, and copying them. We need to come together as Africans because we are African with a Pan-Africanist agenda so that we can solve our problems. So thank you for the opportunity to speak. I really appreciate it. Okay, who's there?
Thank you so much, Dr. Matsanga. Yangi is done. Yangi, thanks for giving us the feedback from the ground.
Okay.
Yes, Dr. Matsanga, over to you.
Thank you very much, Marge. I now invite Yangi Dan, Sadiq. Sadiq, you didn't complete your sentence. 1 minute,
Yes.
please complete your submission.
Oh yeah, thank you very much. Nigeria, we have some different regions that combine to be one country, and in every region we have our own ways of conducting ourselves. I am not here to say anything like that will make someone to belittle someone or something like that. But you see, here in northern part of the country, with the systematic way of voting has really changed over the years. In my polling unit, as I was saying earlier, in my polling unit, as of last election, the previous one that happened, I think the ruling party has almost gotten all the vote in my polling unit, and it is based on credible election because I was there. I went with my voters card. I voted. This time around, that we have a new candidate under that same party. People, the APC, All Progressive Congress, but we have a different result, which makes it very democratic to me. Because what happened is that in my current polling unit, the current administration party, the party of the current administration under presidential votes, they end up with the majority vote, but not that much majority between the opposition party. They end up with 172 votes, while the opposition party, which is the PDP in our area, end up with 158, while the party I'm supporting, which is almost the fourth party, which is NNPP, end up with only 4 votes. 40 votes. So the issue of election here, but I would like to emphasize on the issue of beavers. The beavers are working. The beavers are working in my area, but the issue of that slow accreditation, that's what makes it to look very on us, because I expect that beavers to be more efficient, because in terms of doing things very quick, so that we can have as much as votes that the polling unit consists, because a lot of people that came late end up not voting, because at the end of the day, the time to vote is some of the INEC staff, even from around 5:30 they have started giving us some warning that they will close the board because it is almost time. We insist that there is nothing like that will happen because we are here for our rights and we came with our permanent voters card, which is part of the requirement to vote to exercise your franchise. So definitely they had to allow us to vote at the end of the day. But in my area, I will say that the election went very peaceful and fair. That's just it. But Nigeria is very large. I can't speak on behalf of someone who is even living 2 states ahead of me. So we have a very landmarks and we have a lot of people, in northern part of the country. So I can't speak on behalf of anyone here.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Matovu. Then finally, we come to the last round, Maj and the group, Maj Pandari, Max, famous, that group. You speak. Matovu, from Uganda point of view, from Kampala, Uganda.
Thank you so much, Dr. Masanga. Yeah, I'm very happy to have a chance to speak on this panel. I salute you all, comrades, wherever you are. Yeah, Dr. Matanga, right now I'm not in Uganda, I'm in South Africa. In my view, first of all, I will thank those Nigerians who went and voted. For those who didn't vote unwillingly, I'm very sorry for you. But I thank those who went to embrace the elections in your country. According to the topic, I'll stick to, it says digital elections in Africa decide. All right. So for me, the digital systems are not a problem, because I'll give you an example. Just like these machines are built to simplify work. Just like a phone, someone can use a phone to scam another. Someone can use a laptop to rob money. So everyone, the issue of machine is to simplify work. The problem comes with the person who is using the machine and how they use it. So for me, I would say that the digital systems are not a problem at all, and they could work for us, and we can't blame the manufacturers of these machines for no good reason, because the machines just receive data that is put by the human beings. So the problem comes in from the people who are using these machines. And the elections in general in Africa, I don't know what's going on with our leaders or our people in the governance, in the leaderships, because you can't tell me that in the first place, you well know that there will be elections maybe the next month. So you have to test every single machine or every equipment that will be used in the election. Just like a surgery with a doctor or any activity, even if you're going to dig in the garden, you must check if your hoe or you have the knife or the tools you're gonna use. So to my own view, let me hope it was not intentional to make these machines not to work. Just like the Nigerians were crying for the notes in the recent months before the elections, I was wondering why people were jumping all over the doors of the banks to get the currency notes. And in summary, as I'm concluding, I will not take too much time because we are out of time. But I'm a bit getting worried about our elders in Africa. What's going on with them? Because I don't know why the elderly people in Africa are refusing to give chance to the youth to enter the systems of governance. Because I used to watch on social media, there are people who can't even stand on their own, but they want to take part in the elections and they want to be presidents. I'm just urging Dr. Mathanga, I'm kindly requesting you to tell the elder people to respect the youth, because the youth, they've grown in this generation. They know most of the systems, they know technology, but maybe even the people who are causing all this mess, they don't know even how to use these machines. I submit, Doctor. Thank you so much for holding this space. Yeah, we are out of time, so let me end here. Thank you so much, Doctor. I salute you.
Thank you so much, Matovu. I'm not sure if I think I cannot hear Dr. Mathanga. Dr. Mathanga,
I'm here.
yeah, okay. So do you
I'm
have
around.
something to say, or do I go next? Because I think you'd plant me next.
I have Wandera came and disappeared. He says they are listeners only. No, I don't know. We are talking, Kennedy. But that is exactly what is happening. So thank you very much, all of you. We don't have much time. I want now to close this platform within the next 22 minutes. So I will give each of you a minute each, so that we sum up and we, at exactly 6 o'clock Nigerian time, they will start announcing now for the first time, collecting the results, which proves to the point that I've been telling you that there was nothing on the portal. They have just played it here now, that they will start collecting the results as West African time, 6 p.m. That means they have now done what they want to do with the results. They want to give them out to us. So there you are. It is up to you, Nigerians, and the people who voted. I've done my best. At least some of the things that I predicted are going to be shown. The percentage you want to go beyond 50. You can't get 50% of this election. It will be lower. Let's see how whatever happens, what happens to those who did not vote. So let's begin with March. Then we go to Max. Then we go to, according to the people who are on the platform, Fabulous, Famous. Then we go to Pandare. Then we go to Boss. Then we come to Tony. Tony, you will speak last. Thank you very much in that order. 1 minute each, and a half, whatever. March, take the floor.
Thank you so much, Dr. Matanga. And as we close, thank you, everyone. Let's have the last round of building a network. Please follow each other, follow Dr. Matanga, and follow each other. Now, I'll begin by emphasizing, because I see many people talking about, going to courts for elections after elections. I'll begin by emphasizing that this is in accordance with the Constitution of Kenya. And as a Kenyan, I would just like to reassure you that most people in Kenya are not are used to this. It's a provision of the Constitution, and it's okay for people to go to court. We really appreciate that. Now, going back to the topic, are digital elections in Africa designed to cause chaos or conflict? In the beginning, I said I was sharing my experience, the lived experience with the digital experience, digital voting. I would just like to underline again that I don't find the BVRs itself a problem, but rather the people who are working with it. And there I posted on the link on the comment section, because I like also working with Evident. I asked the IEBC about the back room before the election happened, and there is I'm thinking in German now. The answer they provided is on there, Dr. Matanga. So their back room in Kenya is equivalent to what they have in Nigeria there. And that's the problem, because if we use the BVRs at the polling stations, then we are going to have really those results. But you see, it was also transmitting. And that is where problems come in. That is where people start questioning things. But nevertheless, what you also need to do is we need to have a proper reporting. We need to have people trained. These agents, some of them are not trained, are not well trained. They need to be well trained. And then we need to also really, because it boils down to corruption again, where we are having some people who are corrupt, and we are having people with other interest of going to the back rooms or the I don't know how that is called in Nigeria, whatever, for doing things, or let me just to use a safer word, let me say they leave a lot of room for interpretation when they have such things going on. But if they have the BVRs and at the polling stations, it's documented well, then it's really a positive. Like I said, I was able to relay all the results of the 12 countries in the diaspora to Nairobi. Of course, I slept at 3 a.m. in the morning, but you find that there are people who actually were agents and they left their polling station before. So when even the law, people are following the rule of the law, and the commissioner of the electoral commission is saying the results are final at the polling station, it's because, again, they knew at the polling station there are people who are lazy. So really we have to, it's a combined effort. So there are two aspects here. The thing is not, the digital voting is not a problem. The problem is the corruption in there and leaders who still want to manipulate. And the next thing I would like to share is, at least for the countries that are having elections in the coming years, parallel tallying was an issue. Both parties, they say they're going to have one, but it's really a really logistical thing. I mean, it's heavy, so people just have to just implement and have it's hard work, but at least you have data. So this data was missing, and this is something I would wish even now in Nigeria. I'm not sure anybody has a parallel tallying center. If they could have that, they could transparently also compare. Now, and yes, the digital voting allows diasporans to vote, because we diasporans were able to vote, and that was good for us. We had only one polling agent per polling station, but that was just okay. But without the digital version, I think the transparency wouldn't be the same. Like, you see those forms that you people are waiting for, I had them in my house, the digital version. Even my husband was calling our house a polling station, so digital, I'm really pro it, but the manipulation is spoiling it. Now, I have a few rebuttals before I close. Somebody was talking about international community nullifying electoral results. This was extremely shocking. We already have cases whereby it is thought that some international communities are having their fingers in their elections. So to have people coming in to ask for the international community to interfere that much makes me wonder if they respect the constitutions of those countries or not. So it's up to us to have really transparent elections, and to try even as citizens at the polling station level to really make a difference. And there was somebody who from I think Nigeria who talked about maybe war going to break out in case of this election. The results. I would like to really encourage peaceful. I'd like to discourage violence, because this might sound very horrible, but you see, sometimes politicians need bodies. So the more you die, the more you kill each other, the more mileage they get. So you don't need killing each other because of the elections. They're going to, no, how many people died in these areas? Oh, where's the international community? But you are making it possible, and their children are not going to kill each other. And I kept telling Kenyans, do not fight because of billionaires. Our current president is a billionaire. The ex-president is a billionaire. The prime minister is a billionaire. So what the hell do we have, fighting your fellow citizen because of billionaires? So that's what I would just like to tell the people of Nigeria. War after the elections is really not something I would encourage. Please try to maintain peace. On the next point, somebody was talking about power in exile and mentioned Nairobi, and that was the Somali scenario. I personally do not find this good, because I remember even, it cannot be that Somali is burning and somebody is trying to, manage Somali from Nairobi. As we speak now, Hannah has just tagged me to a video whereby people are really dying in some part of Somali. So that is really not a solution there. And I'm almost finalizing, Dr. Matsanga, I'm sorry. And to the government of consensus, I really do not agree to this, because I think there are other ways of doing this. If you going to have consensus, we have to consider that there are people who have more resources than the others. So are they going to buy themselves in all the time? So for that, the alternative is devolution. Devolution works in many countries, and so we did centralize power. You don't have only a national government that's really always deciding where the resources go. So devolution can help, but even with the devolution, we have the corruption still eating up the devolved government. But then again, we're still in the learning process. So we keep learning, and we continue, and one day we're going to get better. So do we need elections? That was the question from you, Dr. Matsanga. Yes, we do. Because otherwise, what happens if we don't have elections? And you know what happens in most African countries. And I don't want somebody saying that, okay, you're talking badly about my country. I mean, if we didn't have elections, for example, in Kenya, that people are going to be buying power day in, day out. They already buy other things. So we're not going to allow them to buy power. And yes, and so that's it from my side. The very last point, I see opportunities mostly in everything. I'm sorry. But what I experienced from the previous electoral period in Kenya, what happened for both parties is that these parties, they need election management. So diasporans in there, or the Africans back in Africa, this is a chance. If you can have your company that's going to do it well for them, and they see, these are things that happen. They happen in other countries. Why not? We had agents who are not trained. So if your company can promise this party, whether it's I don't know which one, that they're going to do it well, yes, they could do it, and you're going to earn money from that also. Because honestly speaking, we have a lot of people who always scream and say this was done, but if you look at them, they cannot even submit the last paper that that's used to verify those results. So yes, that's one thing that I can say, there's a lot of things you can do for these politicians, or for the politics. And I wish the best for Nigerians, and whatever the result, please do not fight each other. That's all I can say, and I wish you all the best for now. Dr. Matanga, back to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I've been patient because I just wanted to hear everything that you were saying, then come back to tell you about elections. Do we really need elections in Africa? I can give you 200 pages why we don't need elections of this nature. And let me qualify why I say, do we need elections of this nature? Do we really understand what elections are? How many people in Kenya understand the difference between democracy and elections? In Uganda, how many? How many? In Nigeria, you have seen for yourself. A country like Kenya, 62 billion, which is $6.2 billion. It arranged an election in 2017 by stroke of a pen. The 42 billion went down. Just the drain, $4.2 billion went down, which could have built 2,000 hospitals, equipped medicine, brought all the machines of cancer and so on, at least in one hospital, so that Kenyans don't fly to India. But we went and did an election. We struck it by a pen of a jealous Chief Justice, who just dismantled the election, said it was not properly done. So that is why I based my question, Marge. Do we really need it? If we are going to strike an election, why don't we educate people first? Election without education is what we see now in Nigeria. Yes. If you have not educated the voters, that's what we are seeing in Lagos. How can you tell me you don't practice, you don't check your machines? You know you'll hold elections. You should check all of them. Are they working? Are they not working? Will they work in that area or not? All this type. The only commission in the world that works, the only commission in Africa that works 24 hours throughout the year is Electoral Commission. It never stops. But they waited until they tell us, we don't have enough police. We don't have this. We don't have, you see, some of the places in Nigeria didn't have police. They didn't have police to guard the ballots. The boxes have been destroyed. Do we need the election? Does Africa know what the election is? I will qualify it by asking you to go and read Mao Zedong's Revolution. Mao Zedong, in 30 years ago to 40 years ago, the government of Mao Zedong had one rice scheme in Uganda, where we used to share rice with Chinese. For us, we have been very great friends of Chinese long time. You Kenyans started liking Chinese recently. For us, our friends have been Chinese. We had a rice scheme where we are sharing rice with Chinese. And they were producing rice from our swamps, which we had left there, thinking it is a swamp, there is nothing to get out of it. They came and turned the infrastructure and produced rice to send it back to China, half. They were rearing pigs, they were doing bricks, they were doing so many things on huge land of about 50 miles of rice growing, which was feeding China. It helped China. The Chinese were very many, the population was too much, and people were dying of hunger. That's 40 years ago. But after the death of Mao Zedong, the new breed of the leaders of China, they split into two. Some of them said, where have we gone wrong? Margie, the point I want us to ask is not just to talk about top things, top on top. Let's ask root cause. Where have we gone wrong with our elections? Where have we gone wrong with our hunger? Every time you switch on a television, television, and other things in Africa, you hear drought. Kenya is now calling drought. Help. Saidia. Look, when can we sit down and say, what can we do now to change? Mao Zedong, the group that took over power, said, let's change China. Let's go back to our basics. Start producing, start growing crops, start small-scale industries. The little money that we have, let's put it pumping, discipline, curb corruption. Today, China is even lending German money. Don't hide under German and I think in China.
I need evidence. I need evidence from you, Dr. Matsanga, because the taxes I pay.
Look,
just drop it. Just drop the evidence. We pick from there
I will
because
drop
I.
it.
Thank you.
You can go to IMF and see the Bloomberg. Bloomberg? Yes, you will see China. The German chancellor was in China. America is lent money by China. The only problem with America is that it is envious. It doesn't want African countries to borrow that money, but they borrow quietly. As we speak right now, China has more money, more dollars than America, which makes the dollar. As we speak right now. And these two countries work, they borrow, they lend each other money. Don't put on tax, don't waive the taxation, waive this, waive that. You saw that debate. So I am only saying it could not be, I was giving an example of Germany could be borrowing money.
Now it's good. Now it's good because you said it is, but now you're changing to could.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm serious about this. I need evidence. Okay.
But with the evidence, I don't provide. I will provide evidence if you want. But I want to refer you. I refer you to the World International Monetary Fund report.
Yeah, Mr. Matsanga, as your daughter, as you know me, I remain factual and like factual discussions. But just before I give you the mic, let me respect you. Before I give you the mic
you can't
back.
give me the mic. I'm the controller of the mic.
Okay, yes. Before just 1 minute. One minute, please. 1 minute, please.
I've given you permission to talk.
Now,
you talk.
Yes. While I was speaking, I mentioned the pyramid of Maslow. Where are we with our needs? We cannot talk about China's money without mentioning the human rights violations.
Now you are going away.
Dr. Matsanga, please allow me the 1 or 2 minutes.
No. Marge.
Dr. Matsanga, just hold on. I'm going to help.
You a lot of time.
Yes, but but let me finish speaking, Dr. Matsanga. With all due respect. Okay, yeah, go on, yeah.
Okay, I was supposed to be the next.
I was giving an example that 40 years ago, China had no food. If that is what has annoyed you, that China gave Germany money, remove it.
I'm not annoyed, Dr. Matsanga. And if you could just give me my...
Let me bring it the truth. 40 years ago, China had one source of income, outside its territory. Two sources, the Tanzania River that runs from Dar es Salaam to Ndola in Zambia to carry copper, and a rice scheme called Kibimba in Uganda. You can ask Matovu or any East African who has read East African politics and the history. 40 years ago, that farm was feeding China. After the death of Mao Zedong, Chinese changed the program. The new leaders said, no, we cannot go on begging, gonya, 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 gonya. Gonya, gonya means beg every day. Let's start our own initiative. The point I'm trying to make here, Maj and the rest of Africa, is that time has come for us. We cannot be complaining about elections. We cannot be wasting time going to mass demonstrations, conflicts, springing up fights, people picking guns because of elections, going to the bush to fight. Yet we can change the whole way of ourselves, of behaving. For example, we can all agree that it is not, the machines might not be faulty, but the people handling the machines are faulty. So how do we change that? Mindset must change. If you have been given a job by the government to do some work, you must change your mindset. You must do it without corruption. What is the use of having an access, an access computer when you have a backroom computer waiting for you at the collection center? That is the bottom line of it. That's why I brought this. I saw it from yesterday. People were asking, why do you have an access computer? What is that access computer with data staying there for 36 hours without it being transmitted to the collection center? What? Isn't it Karabati? Isn't there something happening? Some confusion taking place? Somebody is doing something with this type of, why don't you transmit the results, as Simba was saying, or announce the results on the base? And that's it. Final results on the base, that is the one we shall print on the portal. Then if there are difficulties, we go to court. But for somebody to collect all the data from the voting, Vivas, your photograph, your everything, taken and stored in an access computer, there is something which is not correct. And it is going to come out. People will see it. I might have no energy to speak about it more than that. My point I was trying to make is the people in Mali, the generals in Mali, have suspended politics for 5 years. One of the reasons they said they want to teach people schools about democracy. Then they will allow political parties to return after everybody has got knowledge of what democracy is. What has killed Nigeria's election for people not even to turn up is lack of education. Is lack of education. 80 million Kenyans did not turn up to vote. Why can't you talk about them? Where did they go march? They disappeared. They sat at home. Is there a war in Kenya? Was there a war? Where did they go? 80 million of them. They never turned up. Just as 50 million of by tomorrow, you will call me or we shall exchange notes, DM. I'll tell you, I told you. Over 50 million Nigerians will not be voting. What have they done? Where have they gone? There are several factors that have made them not turn up. And these are the factors that Africa needs to address. So whoever made the digital election, gadgets, designed to cause more confusion among Africans. By the time we wake up again, like we wake up later on, we say, oh, we took time fighting over data was stolen. And God does not cheat at times much. Recently, an Israeli man woke up in the morning and went to CNN, everywhere, social media, and they said, yes, I've hacked about 12 elections in the whole world. We have hacked them and got the results. He didn't specify Kenya. He didn't specify Uganda. So we don't know how many he has hacked to get the results. He made the governments, installed the government as a result of those elections. So these are the things that why we bring these topics to discuss. Our brothers in Nigeria have voted. Those who have voted have voted. But there is now a problem, an open problem, that someone to create an access server from yesterday after the BVRs were they designed to work that way. Or the BVR was supposed to send to the backroom computer, which can now give you access to upload on the portal. That is what brought a lot of questioning here, which everybody is questioning. I'm not the only one. Everybody in the world is asking, even observers like Thabo Mbeki who are on the ground. Some of us have had a chance to speak to them, to speak to the former president. We have talked. Some of the things are not rhyming. But in all, we pray that no violence erupts out of this declaration. Because up to now, if it was Germany where you are, it was Germany where you are, you know what would happen? By now, you do know an exit poll. Do you know it? Nigerian poll. Can you tell what an exit poll is? You know what it is, but you can't tell who is going to be the winner. You can't, because the whole thing is confused. No details, no signs. We can't. You can't even tell what will be the exit poll, how many, who will win the first round, or who will be going to win in 24 of the 36 county states. And then after winning that, who will move to win Abuja? So why did they put Abuja as a stumbling block? After you have garnered the votes in 24 county states, then you need to get Abuja, which is not a state, but a city. What is the problem with African elections? That's why I said there's no need of, I think, going by what we are, we waste time. Time has come also to either Africans sit back and find a better way. I'm not saying there should be completely no elections. A better way of finding their leaders. We used to find the leaders without quarrel. I support the point of finding leaders without quarrel because election seems to be a contentious issue. Every country in Africa, Zimbabwe, you can see Simba and my brother Pandari. They don't want to see eye to eye. You see, they are coming back here to sort it out because they have unfinished business with their lady called boss. They are here. So, so many things. But ladies and gentlemen, I was going to close this subject.
Yeah, Dr. Matanga, I have a question for you before you close. According to the Constitution of Nigeria, maybe you know this. How long was the voting supposed? How long was the voting supposed to take place? Was it a day or 2?
6 hours.
The voting.
Yes. A population of 93.6 voters, surely in the name of God, 6 hours from 8:30 to 2:30, calculated in mathematics. Yes. Is that an election?
But that's a structural. But that's a structural
Nigerians are here.
problem.
Let's bring one Nigerian.
Yes,
up
please,
here.
please, yeah, please.
Not